corner splattered like rain. Coffee stains tell stories of pain. Spoons clink and whispers in the night. Beneath the night. Shadows dance beneath the neon light. Who drank the poison, who lit the flame? Everyone's guilty, no one takes the blame. True crime cafe where secrets bleed. And flows of regret. Ashtrays full, but we're not done yet. Clock ticks louder, the walls close in. Every sip tastes like original sin. Who's the killer? Who's the saint? Fingerprints smudged, they don't paint. Truth or dare or just pretend? What's the start? What's the end? True crime cafe where secrets bleed. They don't paint. Truth or dare or just pretend? What's the start? What's the end? True crime cafe where secrets bleed. Truth or bullet, truth or need. True crime cafe where lies collide. Order up a story no one can hide.
All right. Welcome back to the cafe, guys. Happy Saturday, October 18th already. This month is flying by, guys. I hope you're all having a great start to your weekend and having an amazing Saturday. Welcome back again for part 2 of the new document breakdown and review in the Idaho Fort case, guys. Plenty more stuff to go through, so thank you all so very much for being here for it. Thank you guys for joining us last night. It was nice to have AR and Robert on panel with me last night going over this stuff. Today we're going to do it again, guys. I will go ahead and drop the link in here if Eddie wants to pop in or anybody wants to join me today. Please do, as we review these things and break it down and see what we come into and figure out today with this case. That being said, well, you know, make sure you guys hit that like button, share this out, let everybody know what we're doing, and you guys know the rest. What do you say we do this thing? Here we go.
Flicker like broken halos. Whispers gather in the smoke-filled air. Tables carved with secrets and shadows. Every story's a wound laid bare. The kettle's boiling with restless rage. Justice written on an unseen page. I sip the silence, bitter taste, waiting for the ghosts to show their face at the True Crime Cafe. We serve up the pain they try to hide away. Pour another cup of the truth you crave. Raise your glass to the names they betray. Cracked reflections are liars. Ashes fall where the guilty once stood. The jukebox hums like a funeral choir. Echoes pounding through the neighborhood. Every scar is a candlelit vow. We hunt the how, we demand the now. No more silence, no more disguise. We'll paint the night with sharpened cry. At the True Crime Cafe, we serve up the pain they try to hide away. Pour another cup of the truth you crave. Raise your glass to the names they betray. This is not a sermon, it's a battlefield hymn, a requiem dripping from the bottle's rim. The guilty write stories in invisible ink, but we'll drag it all up from the edge of the brave. At the True Crime Cafe, the reckoning burns like a black bouquet. Every shadow will pay. In the True Crime Cafe.
All right. Welcome back, guys. Again, it's so great to see you all here with us today. I appreciate you all so very much. And I hope you're all having a great day and a great weekend and a great start to your weekend, I should say. It's wonderful to see you all. Thank you so much again for being here. And again, please make sure to hit that like button on your way through that door, if you will. I appreciate that so very much. And share this out. Tell all your friends what we're doing here today. Please and thank you. Part 2 of the document review and breakdown of the new documents released in the Idaho 4 case. That is what we're doing. So it was pretty interesting last night. Great conversation with AR and Robert and all the rest of you awesome peeps in the chat. Talked about some things. Thank you to Lucy for the things that she helped us understand. As always, gotta love Lucy. You know, Desi did, so that's important. So just saying. Let's see who we got in here with us today. It looks like Miss Christina's back in the house. Thank you so much for being here. Of course, the lovely Miss Tandy's in the house. And then, guys, if you want to become an official member of the sauce and a awesome meatball, that's how you do it right there. Click on that link and it will jump you in the sauce with the rest of us. Thank you for that, Miss Tandy. Hemisphere's in the house. Good to see you, my friend. Great to see you all here today, but thank you, Hemisphere, for joining us. Tomboy's in the house as well. Let me see. Miss Mary Holt, welcome back to you. Mittens for Kittens, welcome back. Great to see you today. Megastar Meg P in the house. Good to see you, Miss Meg. Thank you for joining us as always. We love Meg here. Josie West, welcome back to you. Great to see you as well. Miss Jennifer Meineke, great to see you. Paula, always so positive and wonderful to see you as well. The Done One, welcome back to you. Teresa, wonderful to see you back in the chat. I'm glad we got that fixed. Thank you for being here. Phenomena Mom, great to see you again. Michelle F., welcome back to you. Sorry, guys. Let me see. Beach Babe, welcome back. Great to see you. Scully's in the house. Or he was. Good to see you, brother. Thank you so much for joining us. I do appreciate you very much. Come on in. Vonda Tolman, welcome back. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us today. Yes, she did. That song is amazing. I do agree. Miss Molly herself, Molly Drake. There's a link to her channel. She creates and does all the magic here for our videography, music, videos, all that good stuff. Molly handles all that for the intros, outros, and everything, all the fun stuff. She does an amazing job with it. Please make sure to subscribe to her channel, support her in any way you can, because everything, and you got to see what she's got over there. She's got a TikTok too. I believe the link to the TikTok is in her channel as well. But please go support that, hit the notification bell, and subscribe if you haven't. You don't want to miss anything Molly puts out. It's all amazing, just like the intro song that we have, guys. And then some. She got so much good stuff over there. Sorry, we're glad to see you when you're here, Miss Bonda. Always appreciate ya. Come on, guys. We got 20 people in the house, 18 likes. We're getting there. Let's see if we can make that match and get this up into the algorithm. Share this out with everybody. That is not true at all. See? See? Look at this stuff, guys. Lies, lies, lies. Nobody was crunchy at all. They were crunchy with me because I came in and told everybody when we were going live, but I forgot to say hello and good morning to people because I was very busy with my granddaughter and my house and trying to set up my thing here for you guys. And they said I was being crunchy, but I was the one that was being crunchy at. Good morning, Hemisphere. How are you, sir?
What's going on, Dago?
Not a whole lot. What's going on with you?
Just living the life, man. One day at a time.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it.
Hopefully, better days are ahead for me. I've been going through a hard time.
I gotcha. I get it. I get it.
But yeah, I've been enjoying that collaboration you've been having with AR. I think we've been saying that for a while now about getting other creators start doing stuff like that.
Oh yeah. Yes. Yeah, there's gonna be more of that interacting and collaborating stuff because we all need to be working together to do what we're trying to do here, in my opinion, and I think we can do that, and it'll be a great thing, I think.
Yeah, I know, and I've also heard several other creators pretty much say the same thing or been wanting to do the same thing too. So it's good to see it finally starting to slowly but surely.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Like I said, I think a lot of us are on the same path in heading in the same direction. So hence, if we're all doing this all on our own with our separate selves, there's no reason why we can't do it together. So
exactly. And we all see the case for what it is. It is what it is.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. Oh, there was no meeting, Meg. No worries, dear. They're just trying to give me a hard time because I didn't come in and say good morning, everybody. I was rushing through this, trying to make sure I can get this live when I wanted to, and I just said, "Hey, we're going to be live at this time," and just giving everybody a heads up because I didn't say good morning. I got all the brooms were thrown at me. I'll just put it that way. Jackie Bushable, welcome and good morning. Good to see you.
So I'm just getting to a point now that we know pretty much the players that was involved in all this and how it all pretty much went down. Now it's time to figure out who actually did it. Who was actually the actually did the crime?
That's a good question. That I don't know that we'll get an answer to. I think there's some ideas as to who, but they've done a great job, in my opinion, of keeping that buried. Okay, if you know what I mean by keeping it buried. But like you said, knowing all the hands that were in the fire, okay, you got to kind of do a little math if possible. Sometimes the math doesn't work, but doing a little bit of math, like I said, and trying to figure out with everybody that's involved and doing what they've done with this, how and who and why would those people benefit to be covering up what they have? You know what I mean? So who that can possibly kind of help a little maybe with figuring out who might be involved in the actual crime itself as to who committed the crime. So maybe we'll see, but
I'm wondering if they still got all the DNA they've collected from the house before they tore it down.
um I'm if they do, we'll never see it. And if they do, we'll never get any news. It's too late for that. Now they've got it in prison, everything's done in there, on their side of things. I highly doubt that he will ever. If that would happen. If that were to happen, that would mean that they would have to admit we did this wrong, and that.
No, you was cutting out.
Right in front of the.
Hold on a minute. 1 sec. All right, is that any better?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, sorry, this microphone. I need to get this other microphone working somehow. Figure out how to get this to roll. This thing is not doing its job, and if God forbid you bump it, it's gone. So,
I mean, this I've been saying it for a while. And this is just the way I see it. I don't have any guarantees that it's going to happen, but it's crying, begging to happen. Uh, somebody needs to look into it. Definitely needs to look into it.
yeah, I can agree.
It-
The Department of Justice needs to be looking at this. They need to be head first diving into this, and I don't know that they're not. Okay, don't get me wrong, but they're not telling us if they are. It's not being put out there if they are. What I would love to see, I'll be truly honest with you, is a news break stating that the federal government, Department of Justice, is looking into the prosecution and the judicial aspect of the Idaho 4 case. That'd be an amazing breaking news thing to see. But guess what? It's not going to happen.
I was just thinking because if the Innocent Project was to come on board with this case, that's exactly what they want to see is the DNA. And if they go as far as destroying the evidence, destroying the DNA that was collected, because they all say unknown male, unknown female, stuff like that. So we don't have names, but I think they do. They had to have the names. They know exactly who did this.
I don't remember if you were here last night when AR was here. We were talking about it. I gave kind of a final thought last night. WB, good morning. Good to see you. I believe Hemisphere, and for all of you that didn't hear this last night, if you weren't here, I believe that the prosecution, the judge, the governmental aspect of this, they know what happened here. And they know that Brian didn't do this. And I believe the prosecution and LEO LE, law enforcement, very, very much possibly, I believe they know who did this too. Okay. You would have to at this point, in my opinion. So that's a huge thought to me.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry, but yeah, I agree totally with you because whoever it is has to be very important for them to go to the extreme that they did to cover everything up the way they did. This just baffles me. It's just wow.
That's what I mean. To go to the extreme, like you said, of what the cover up was, they would have to know. There's a reason why they did it. Okay. And the multitude of lies that have been told to us within this case, the depth that had to be gone to handle this situation is insane. which tells me that it's obvious that it's either something very important within the university, which is, one of my absolute factors in what my belief is, and then of course the specific people possibly. One thing alone I think is that it cannot make the university look bad, because we all know that if that university goes down, the whole entire town falls to pieces. That town relies on the university, and the university relies on the town. It is what it is. So if either one of them go down, the other does. You know, that's
I get it. I get it on one hand, Dago, but on the other, I just can't get with that. That's that's not justice. That's not true justice.
no, not at all. It's not.
It's not. And I mentioned about the parents the other day. That as a parent, if that was me, I would freaking go nuts.
Yes, sir.
I would
Absolutely.
truly own that town because to know that they have lied all the way through the process with the Gonzalez. They didn't even get the results for Kaylee until the day they arrived for that last hearing. That
Yeah,
says a whole lot. I mean,
it does. It does. I agree with that. Vonda, welcome to the sauce. Congratulations, Miss Vonda. The meatball in the house, guys. Great to see that. Thank you so much for joining us, and we appreciate you so much here. You're right. And like I said last night as well, I do believe at this point, watching what we've watched with the Goncalves family, with Steve's facial reactions, this and everything else, I believe he's starting to, if not has been, believing that something's not right with this. Okay. And with the effort that they have put into this to go after Brian, I can't imagine he's ever going to admit that. You know what I mean?
yeah. Even the thought process of trying to have the peace of mind that they did get the right guy that did this, and then
Right.
turn around knowing that somewhere in the back of your mind you're going, no, because the real perps is still out there.
Yes. I do agree with that. The people that committed this crime, and hear me when I say people, there's people. They're there. And the thing is if it's been quiet, obviously, because they know that they're getting away with this. Okay. So if that's the case, once this all clears and it finally shuts itself down, which is going to take a while, I believe it could happen again, Hemisphere. I do, because of the fact that it was gotten away with to that extent. If it doesn't get called out at some point and it does quiet down, I'm just saying.
I would agree. And there were several things in that body cam that we watched yesterday that just kind of, raised a red flag to me, especially with that one guy that had the USMC shirt on. I think it was one of the very first doors he knocked on.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And then there was another crazy guy that had the silhouettes and looked like Halloween decoration on his door or whatever, and he kind of acted kind of funny. With the proximity of the neighborhood there, and as close as everybody is, it's amazing that how nobody don't know nothing. It seems like everybody just, I didn't hear that. But one of them did say, well, I heard there was some gunshots.
Right.
So there were some nuggets that I caught in that body cam that Gunderson never really, had a conversation with them about. It was,
Well,
you know,
like Eddie had said, and I agree with him yesterday, I feel like Gunderson was going around doing damage control during that walkthrough, walk and talk, whatever, knock and talk, whatever you guys call that, to make sure of who heard what, if anything, what was heard. And then the one guy, like you said No, we didn't hear anything. We didn't hear no gunshots. And then Gunderson's like, what do you mean? You know, why would you say that? In a sense, is what I heard from him. Not that's not what he said, but that's what it kind of sounded like he was hinting at when he made the statements and stuff. Well, I heard somebody told me, and I heard through someone that told me that said. I mean, it was a whole thing to get to that point. And the problem that I have with that is there was no follow up on that statement. Nobody knew anything about gunshots. Nobody knew anything about any gun, period, for 2.5 years. Okay, that never came up until just recently. So nobody should have said anything like that. That's my point.
Well,
And
there is a narrative in the fact that since Dylan said that she heard Kaylee running up and down the stairs, down Kaylee, they're saying Kaylee went down to the very first floor where Bethany is.
right,
And it's with Bethany saying that she saw a flash underneath the door.
yeah,
That's where the gunshot narrative started coming in.
absolutely.
Now, all of a sudden, Kaylee gets shot. Speculating here, but she gets shot, gets wounded. They carry her back upstairs to where Molly was, and
Maddie, you mean Maddie?
Maddie, yeah, back upstairs where Maddie is. And then we got Dylan looking at the door, looking at the perps in the kitchen, and trying to run downstairs. I'm still trying to put that together, but
No, I got you. I agree with that. Welcome, Miss Denise. Wonderful to see you today. Elizabeth Wagner as well, and Anna D. Welcome to you. Great to see you guys. Truth and Justice, True Crime in the house today. Moonlit Baby, welcome. Great to see you today.
But yeah, I'm trying to see how that fits in the narrative of how I get she's probably freaking out, scared, locked herself in the room, but they're up all through this. If the crime really did happen in the house, there's a lot of commotion. I'm sure there's a lot of hollering, a lot of screaming. So you're not sleeping through all that. So I'm trying to put two and two together and figure out, okay, when did Dylan actually go downstairs where Bethany's at?
Right.
Unless she already knows who the perps are and they know who she is. Which
good point.
Is why it's clear that Dylan had something to do with it. To what degree, we don't really know, but she has something to do with it. And also Bethany. And I'm just floored at how Bethany's rooms got ransacked.
I never saw that photograph that everybody's talking about her room being ransacked. I never got to see that. I've just listened to what everybody said about it.
The still pictures. It's there.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to find my way to that to get into that, to check it out and see what I can get out of that for sure. You know, the biggest issue I have with that night with the two roommates was that there's pictures being taken and edited. There's people all over. They're on social media all night long, checking job listings, this, that, and everything else. And it's just like, you're so terrified because there's something going on in this house, but you're doing this. It doesn't fit. It just doesn't. And now I'm pretty certain at this point that Bethany wasn't even there the whole time. I think she left at some point. Dylan may have as well and came back. I don't know, but I definitely believe that Bethany wasn't there. She wasn't part of the 911 call that we've seen that, as we were made to believe. There's just too much untruth that is being spread through this whole thing.
I even heard somebody was trying to tell me that it happened outside the home and that whoever really did this bought everybody back in the house and put them where they was at. I
I
don't
don't.
really believe that.
I don't either.
I really don't. Is it odd that the house was cleaned up the way it was? Because I know we've said this a time or two too that we were expecting a bloodbath pretty much in the house, but we didn't get that. But we still had to compensate for the 8 hours.
Yeah. Mittens said right. They go, who was the blonde girl seen running out of that? I've never seen or heard that, Mittens. That's new for me. I would love to see where that came from.
And
I,
now I'm hearing that somebody went to the hospital that night.
we're
One
gonna
said,
we're gonna review a video on that before we do the documents. There's a couple videos that have been dropped that were emailed to me. People are saying they're very interested in. Um, so we're gonna review those and look at that, and then we're gonna review and break down these new documents. We got plenty planned. But yeah, here's my thing. Some of these things that are these stories that have been put out, you guys better be careful with it. Thank you for that info, though, Mittens. I'm curious about that now. If this happened outside of the home, I promise you that 911 would have been called by the neighbors. You know, they didn't call, or well, I would hope they would call 911. Somebody would have heard something, and I don't believe they did. And if anybody did hear anything, they're being super quiet for whatever reason. They're not talking. When again, it could be Mittens. We don't know, but I will definitely look for it, hun. I appreciate the info though. I look for these things when I hear these things that pop up out of nowhere, rumors, whatever they are. I go in, I try to verify that they're true or not true, and that way we can make sure that misinformation is clarified, so it's not. Because all we want, we do want to make sure that we have facts to base the speculation and the conversations we have about this to try to figure this out. Welcome, Gracefully. Good to see you today. Thank you for joining us. Jennifer Meinecke's asking, I have some things I would like to email you and talk to you about concerning Delphi from back to the beginning. Okay, please do. Please do. I'm definitely interested. I've always been interested in that case, Jen. I just did an update on that the other day. So, yeah, send it away. Send it away. I definitely will look through it. Vonda says, girl running at the same time. DoorDash arrived, and Kaylee was terrified because someone was there. That's what I'm saying. It's interesting, Vonda. If it's true, I'd like to see it. Summer Jade, hey, good to see you. It's been a while. Great to have you in the house today. By the way, WB, welcome. Good to see you as well. And there she is, Miss Christie's Chaos in the house. Welcome, Miss Christie. Guys, please, mods, please drop Christie's link in the chat. Christie's been doing some amazing things over on her channel. I want everybody supporting her. If you do not yet do it, please subscribe, notify, hit the notifier, and like it up. Christy's doing amazing things over there, and I appreciate everything she's doing. As I said, there's some amazing creators out here. Typically, Unique's doing stuff. All these other channels that are starting up that are doing these things that are breaking off from all of our channels. I love it because they're doing some great work, folks, and it needs to be seen and supported 100%. So please, please go over there and make sure you guys are subscribing. And you don't want to miss nothing they put out. Please and thank you. But yeah, she shouldn't have to drop her own link, you guys. But thank you, Christy. Pappy's in the house. What's up, brother? Good to see you today. I appreciate you very much. She is quick with that. She is quick. Walking, Tonka's in the house again. Good to see you, Tonka. Always appreciate you. Teresa, oh, I've seen you already. Anybody I missed, I will catch up with you. It's wonderful to have you all here today. So we're going to be reviewing a couple videos, and then we're going to jump into these documents to finish them up. These are interesting. Some of the stuff in these documents are interesting. I'll tell you that much. There may be another person from here with a channel soon. All right. If you're going to do it, Pappy, I got your back. You know that, brother. You know I do. All of you guys, I try to support and help to grow as much as I possibly can. Because you guys are doing great stuff, and I appreciate that very much. So, all right, guys, let's see. Let me find this video here to throw up. The first one we're going to review. And where is it? Sonic Scoob. I know it's in here. Give me 1 minute. In regards to this so-called hospital visit, Let's see what we got. We're going to review and react to that one. And 1 minute here. I know one of you guys dropped it to me. 1 minute. 1 minute, please. Get my Discord to work the right way. Let me see. My house smells amazing already. My wife is in there setting up. We're having Mississippi pot roast today. Oh boy. Cannot wait.
Hey, that sounds good, Dago.
It is. It truly is. And of course, especially when she puts her hands in it. Excuse me. As soon as she touches it, it becomes absolutely amazing. She's an amazing cook. Like I said, I didn't become the chub rock that I am from nothing. When I met her, I wasn't at all, but can't help it. Being married to a Southern woman is just forget it.
Even chili sounds good.
Yep.
Of course, I'm hungry. I want to eat something.
Absolutely. Where is this video? And which one of you guys dropped it to me? Because I got hit with it last night and I cannot find it now. Was it Mama Bear? It might have been Mama Bear. Hold on a minute. Let me see here. All right. So we got this. We got that. We got that and this. And that too. All right.
I was thinking about starting my own channel too, but I didn't know how about to go about it.
Oh no, I got the docs. I got the docs, Christy. Thank you, hon. There's a video that was put out that was sent to me last night, and I had the link for it. It was dropped in the Discord too for about this whole somebody went to the hospital thing, and I wanted to review that with you guys first. Smiling Sleuth,
And chili and rice sounds so good.
We had chili a couple days ago. It is very good with that and homemade cornbread. My mother-in-law makes, and oh my god, I want oh, you guys are killing me. I want beans and cornbread, butter beans, a pot of butter beans and some cornbread. I would kill for that right now. Or ham and beans and cornbread. It's that time of year, and I love that kind of stuff.
Well, I do sleep. I just don't sleep long. I get a couple of hours. Then I got a little chihuahua, and he likes.
I'm the same way.
So,
all right, which one of you guys here are the one that dropped that video to me in the back? I don't know why this is such a struggle. Too much stuff going on at one time. Give me a minute here. I might know. Hold on. 1 second, everyone. Bingo. Gotta love Fizzy. Thank you, Fizzy. I know she's not here, but I appreciate her very much. As well as it gonna load or not. That one's not going to, so I gotta go this way. And this was put out by Unfiltered Lucky. Another amazing channel that I've been following a lot. If you guys have not yet checked out Unfiltered Lucky, please do. There's a link in chat right there. I do appreciate him and everything he does so very much. So please go check him out if you will. All right, 1 minute here. Morning, Miss Allison. Good to see you. Terry Martin in the house. Good to see you, Terry. How are you today? If you can hear me. Maybe not. Are you there, Terry? Maybe she's not. Can you hear me, Terry?
Can you hear me now?
There we go.
Okay, cool.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good stuff. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Not a problem. I thought I'd jump up and chat for a while.
Sounds like a plan. So this first video, like I said, it was put out by Unfiltered Lucky. Absolutely. Allison, wonderful to see you. And Jules as well. Don't talk about chicken and dumplings. Do not talk about chicken and dumplings because I have been craving that for 6 months. What'd you say, Terry?
Oh, I was just saying hi to a couple people.
Oh, no worries. All right, guys. Let's check this out. And unfortunately, I still haven't been able to figure out what is causing this issue. So we have to mute when we have this video up here because it'll give all sorts of echo for some reason for my guests. And I don't get it, but I'll figure it out eventually. Okay. Again, this footage is provided via Unfiltered Lucky. Please make sure that you guys are clicking the link there. Subscribe to him if you have not yet done it. Yeah, I promise you, you will not be disappointed. And hit that like button for me. All right, guys, here we go.
Tragedy on the U of I campus. 4 students dead, another in the hospital.
Hey everyone, it's Lucky with Unfiltered Lucky. And today I want to talk a little bit about the Idaho 4 case. I want to talk about some of the initial information that was coming out in the very beginning, right around November 13th of 2022. Some of the reports and the statements that were made by people who were close to this case, because many of us have been following this case from the very beginning, and we heard this information. We heard these details. And then over time, they began to get swept under the rug. You know, they started hiding this information. They started scrubbing information from the internet. So it seemed odd, you know, but a lot of this was because of the gag order. And of course, I understood the gag order during the investigation. Obviously, they didn't have a suspect. They didn't have a person of interest. So they wouldn't want to put too much information out there until they could get further along in this investigation and arrest a suspect. But this gag order, in my opinion, ended up becoming a little overdone. You know, it wasn't just a gag order. It was basically hiding information and continuing to hide information right up until the plea deal happened. So it always seemed odd to me that they would continue to try to hide everything when they already had a suspect and they were already trying him for these crimes. He was already facing the death penalty. So today I want to talk a little bit about some of this information that came out in the very beginning and why all of this information was swept under the rug in the first place. So right after these crimes occurred, I was watching a lot of news stories, trying to gather information because Moscow Police Department had not released a press conference yet. And on November the 15th, KXLY news reporter Robin Nance was doing a news update of breaking news about the Idaho 4 case. And she came out and she said that there were 4 students dead and 1 that went to the hospital.
Now, on Good Morning Northwest, tragedy on the U of I campus. 4 students dead, another in the hospital. The new information we're learning and the questions we're hoping to be answered.
So at the time, I didn't really, think anything different about it because we didn't know the details of the crime. So the fact that 4 students' lives had been taken and 1 person had gone to the hospital didn't really raise a red flag for me. But the next day, Chief Fry and Moscow Police Department held a press conference. And in this press conference, they never mentioned anything about the person who went to the hospital. So I thought that was kind of strange. Now, obviously, this investigation was just getting started. So it wouldn't be uncommon to maybe have some confusion when it came to the details in the very beginning. But there was a local who also noticed that Chief Fry never mentioned this individual that went to the hospital the way that Robin Nance reported it. And she reached out to Robin Nance to ask her about it. And she said that, she had heard this news update and she heard Robin Nance say that there were 4 students whose lives were taken and that one had gone to the hospital. But that Chief Fry never mentioned that in the press conference. So she asked Robin Nance if she had misspoke or if, maybe she had gotten the details incorrect. And Robin Nance responded, and she said, I said that 4 students were dead and 1 went to the hospital. Now, she also said that law enforcement was trying to keep a lot of this information a secret. So she confirmed that that was the information that she reported. And
if you notice the way she puts this, and it's in bold letters, she reiterates this as in, this is what I said, this is what I meant to say, and that's how I took it. And it's like, okay. And that's definitely, to me, a bit of a flag. And we all know that Moscow was keeping a lot of this, like, on the definite DL on this, okay? They didn't want nothing coming out at that point at all. They refused to answer specific questions for that reason. And again, okay, that's all I'm saying. And we've never heard after this point when this all happened, it never came out again after that. It was shut down like that, okay? Hey, Stiggy and Mike, good to see you today. Kelly Land in the house. Welcome back. Great to see you all. Thank you so much for joining us. Please make sure to hit that like button on the way through that door, folks, and share this out. Let everybody know what we're doing today, please, and thank you. So I'm just saying, like, it's interesting. And if you notice, like I said, she's reiterating, this is what I said. And like I said, to me, it looks like this is what I meant to say, period. So, yeah, it is definitely a major red flag. I agree.
stood by it. Obviously, it seemed odd that law enforcement would want to keep it a secret that someone went to the hospital that morning in addition to the 4 victims who lost their lives. So, but this is also the beginning of the investigation. So it kind of made sense at that point because, I was thinking maybe this is a key to this investigation and they don't want to quite put it out there just yet. The problem is this individual who went to the hospital never came up again. It basically got swept under the rug, and this report, this news report that Robin Nance put out there.
Thank you so much, Miss Kelly, for the super chat. God bless, and we love you, and we love that you love this community as well. Thank you so much. So very generous, and God bless. Very generous. Appreciate that so much.
Was also scrubbed from the internet. You couldn't find it anymore. So it seemed strange. A lot of people said that, nobody went to the hospital in an
Welcome, John. No worries, my friend. No worries.
ambulance, or nobody was seen by any of the neighbors or any of the witnesses going to the hospital in an ambulance. But it's not uncommon for people to be taken to the hospital in a private vehicle. Now, I'm also not saying that this individual had to be a victim. This individual could have also been a suspect. So fast forward a little bit, and we find out that there is a confidential informant. Steve Gonsalves says that this informant is who led law enforcement to Brian Koberger, and that this informant is federally protected. That they even told Steve Gonsalves not to approach this informant or they would come for him. So now we learn that there's this informant, and people started putting the pieces together, and we started thinking maybe this informant is the person who went to the hospital that morning. Now, the other night, I caught a video from Lee at Devil's Advocate, and he was talking about some documents that had been released by Idaho State Police. And in this paperwork, there were 5 victims listed. Kaylee Gonzalez was victim number 2. Madison Mogan was victim number 3. Xana Kernodle was victim.
Guys, please drop Devil's Advocates link to another channel I've been following and watching. Lee does some great stuff over there, so please drop that link as well. And guys, go check out that channel. Another one that's doing the work, putting it in, and doing great stuff, guys. So thank you.
Victim number 4, and Ethan Chapin was victim number 5. So, who was victim number 1? And it got me thinking back to this report by Robin Nance. So, is it possible that there were 4 deceased and 1 person that got injured in this house, and that person was taken to the hospital? Not necessarily in an ambulance, but maybe in a private car. 8 hours.
Sorry to interrupt. Thank you, Miss Christie. I appreciate that so much. You guys are awesome. Great job, as always.
Hours is a long time. So a lot could have happened between 4 a.m. and noon. Something else that I've always thought was strange was what took the fire department what seemed like a really long time to get on scene. I mean, by the time they got there, law enforcement had already arrived on scene, already gone into the house, discovered the victims, determined that they were deceased and beyond help, and were already walking back out to the street by the time that the fire department got there. We know that the call to law enforcement and the fire department went out at the same time. So
now I'm going to stop this here real quick and point to something else that has been being looked at recently, okay, with the direction he's going in. So if you guys remember, during the, I think it was Dylan's, when she was being given her statement to Nunez, okay, there is a point where she says, and I know everybody's been critical with this, and they've been tearing it apart, trying to figure it out, and she points and says, that man over there helped us and told us to call 911. People are saying that it was Hunter Johnson. People are saying that it was Officer Snyder. People are saying it was Officer Gunderson, so on and so forth. We don't know yet, okay? We don't know. Jesse's in the house. Good to see you, brother. The link is pinned. If you want to join us, you're more than welcome to, my friend. Don't be hating. Good to see you. Jules, again, good to see you today. Thank you so much for joining us. So I was just thinking about that and this situation. It made me wonder. It's talked about, or has been talked about, that law enforcement was there beforehand, before 911 was called. Whether it was one or others, more than one, I don't know if it's even true, okay? Right, Christy. A lot of people think it could be Snyder, Johnson, a few others. So I don't know, but and it could be nothing, guys. But it is just definitely something that we are paying attention to and looking into. I don't know if it's real or if it's not real, but it's just another point of contention and another thought. Okay. The only person that is in that area dealing with pointing was an officer, and that was Snyder. I do agree, Tonka. So once again, something to think deep on and see if we can find an answer to that possibly. But it makes sense, because what if there was an officer there beforehand? Somebody does go to the hospital. We don't know about this because they're hiding it. I don't know. Okay. Will we figure it out? I don't know that either, but it's definitely something else that I'm looking at in a different way. That's all I'm saying. I got you, Jesse. I forgot it was Saturday, so I understand. But thank you for being here either way, brother. And Miss Jody Walters, great to see you today. So on we go.
How did law enforcement get to the scene so much sooner than the fire department? Which seems odd, because this 911 call came in as an unconscious person.
And he's right, because the fire department should have been dispatched first and foremost. And she even says that, okay, on the call. So They should have been there way before, or it. I would say at least at the same time as law enforcement. They didn't show up for Jesus. It's a while now. If it's because law enforcement told them to stand down, I don't know, but it's still something to pay attention to, in my opinion.
So it seems as though the fire department would have gotten there first. Anyway, let's talk about a statement that was made by the mayor of Moscow, Art Bedke. And he said that this was a crime of passion. Now, why would he say that unless that's what he was told? This is the mayor. You know, it doesn't seem as though he's going to go out there and just make something up. But when he walks it back, that's basically what he says, is that he believed that the crime scene had the characteristics of what a crime of passion would look like. And that's why he told people that it was a crime of passion. Now, that makes no sense. I mean, he just went out there on his own and said it was a crime of passion. I think that this is what the mayor was told. And like I said, in the very beginning, maybe it is easy to get these details mixed up. But that's a pretty important detail, because it would obviously mean that this crime was committed by someone who knew these victims. Now, that's something else. A lot of people, including Christy Gonsalves, Kara Northington, and a lot of people close to this crime believed that it was committed by somebody who knew these victims. They didn't believe that a complete random stranger would be that angry, would have that much rage. And
Thank you, Miss Christie. And just real quick, guys. Holy shit, that's big. Let's take a look at this. Incident address, South Main Street, Gritman Hospital, ER. This is in Moscow. Disposition is listed as ACT. Time reported was 0420. Okay. Patient who was brought in by officers earlier, now being aggressive. Officers responded, no report. 0420. Of course, no report. That's not surprising. But patient brought in by officers earlier, now being aggressive. Police took somebody into the ER, folks, at Gritman Hospital. And the time that this is reported was at 4:20 a.m. Okay. Interesting. I'm going to say interesting. I got to say interesting. And yes, no report like always. I agree with that, Christy. It's crazy. It's beyond interesting. And I have something else I'll be showing here in a minute too. But thank you for that. I appreciate that very much. No, there's no police report at all, Tandy. There never is. They don't take reports on anything. No report, as always.
I just thought I noticed.
I'm sorry?
Never mind.
Okay. It's quite interesting. It is quite interesting. One more little something to think about there, guys, and we'll be going back to that.
we know from the coroner, from Kathy Mabbitt, that she believed that this crime was committed by someone who was obviously very angry and had a lot of rage. So it would make sense that this crime was committed by someone who knew these victims, someone who was obviously angry at these victims, had a lot of rage towards them. It was a personal crime. So these were just a few things from the very beginning of the investigation, right after the crime was committed. And these statements and these reports, like I said, they just kind of vanished into thin air. This information that came out in the very beginning gave us an indication that whoever committed this crime likely knew these victims, and that there was very possibly someone who went to the hospital from the King Road house the morning of the crimes, that there were actually possibly 5 people attacked. Now, I know that a lot of people in the comments will say, Brian Koberger already pled guilty. But to me, this plea deal almost makes things even more confusing because no matter how you look at it, investigators were not able to find a connection. They came out and they said in their press conference that they worked very hard to find a connection and they never could. They couldn't find a connection between Brian Kohberger and any of these victims. Something else is that they don't know a motive. They have no idea why Brian Kohberger would commit these crimes. So they don't have a connection to any of these victims. They don't have a motive for why Brian Kohberger would commit these crimes. They don't have a weapon, and they're missing a lot of the details when it comes to their evidence. So it's very confusing as to why Brian Kohberger would suddenly, right before he's about to go to trial, take this plea deal. I mean, the prosecution benefited more from this plea deal than anyone because by Brian Kohberger pleading guilty, he let a lot of people off the hook. He let Dylan and Bethany off the hook because now they don't have to testify. He let the prosecution off the hook because now they don't have to prove their case to a jury. So it seems odd that Brian Kohberger would take this plea deal and give up everything. Give up everything for a bunch of circumstantial evidence that, in my opinion, could have been challenged, could have been argued by Ann Taylor and the defense. So I get it. I understand that Brian Kohberger pled guilty. But in my opinion, that just makes everything more confusing. So that's why we're still talking about all these details. People who have believed that Brian Kohberger was guilty from the very beginning are still following this case because I'm sure that everybody still has a lot of questions. Because as more information comes out, the more a lot of us are realizing that they never really had that concrete evidence. They really didn't. And it would seem as though Ann Taylor would know this. So why would she allow Brian Kohberger to take this plea deal? Why wouldn't he take this in front of a jury? Let me know what you think in the comments. And thanks for hanging out with me today. I really do appreciate it. And if you liked my video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to my channel. I hope that y'all had an amazing day. We'll see you next time.
What time did they say? What time did they say that the person was it PM or AM?
It's listed as 4:20. There's no AM or PM on it, but I don't know. You know what I mean? That's the question with that one. Guys, please make sure again that you are jumping over to Lucky's channel, subscribe, notification, and hit the like button on that. He does a lot of great stuff. I appreciate him very much. So I also have, thank you to Miss Meg here. Excuse me. Something else that I thought was interesting as soon as I saw it. And then we're going to follow up with something else that she dropped me as well. Male standing near bike rack. Looked like he was trying to hide. Area checked. Officers respond. No report. Surprise. Moscow 9919. Incident number 22. It's listed as 1450 North Mountain View Road. Okay. Give me 1 minute. Mountain View Park Place, Moscow, Idaho. Disposition. Time reported 21, 24, and 46. And the CAD comments come out as, and the CAD's a computer when they put everything in. Delta Police and EMS responded. 1 transported. That's Monday, November 14th at 3:26 Pacific Standard Time. This is when the person was transported to the hospital, okay? The report that I showed you before was reported at 4:20. So an hour and 20 minutes after this person is transferred to the hospital, they're getting aggravated and acting out, being violent, whatever. LCSO requested female in and out of consciousness at this location in a vehicle, refusing to roll down the window and is moaning. So this is listed here as a domestic dispute. So this happens on the same night. Oh, and boom, there she is.
Is this
Miss
the trailer?
Tomboy, welcome. Mountain View Road, Mountain View Park. I guess so.
So this is what happened over at the trailer, and the guy
Trailer park. Yeah.
Yeah, and he had
James Curtis Leonard.
Yes.
and
That's his name.
he had knife wounds all over his arms.
From cutting chicken.
Yes, from cutting chicken. Bullshit. Anyway. Yes, so this next clip again, and welcome, Tomboy. Thanks for joining us.
Well, I'm just gonna hop up for a second because I just want to say something.
Okay,
I really think we need to look into doing a FOIA for Gritman Memorial Hospital and St. Joseph's Regional Medical Center, because I don't know, just my gut tells me that the person that in the documents that said that they were at St. Joe's in Lewiston, I don't think they were. I think they were care flighted from Gritman. Because
are you going back to the Mowich situation? Is that what you're referring to?
I don't. Well, it doesn't give a name, but I'm just saying.
Right.
St. Joseph's is able to handle quite a bit of trauma.
Of course, yes. In
So,
Lewiston, it's actually listed. If you look it up, because I did when other things came out, it's listed as a trauma center, level 1 trauma center, I believe, because it's a lower grade. But yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I know. So I know that they can handle more trauma, but my brain is just telling me that I think he may have been care flighted from Gritman to Spokane,
St. Joe's,
which I'm gonna guess it's Sacred Heart in Spokane.
Oh, okay, got you.
There's 3. It's Holy Family, Deaconess, and Sacred Heart. Sacred Heart is the trauma. Deaconess is a heart hospital, and Holy Family is just, it's a whatever.
Right. Okay.
But
good idea. Good idea.
Just think maybe do a FOIA for both, for the care flight logs for Gritman Memorial, anywhere between the 13th of November and the 15th.
Right.
Can they give you those, Tomboy, with is it HIPAA?
The care flight logs I probably won't be able to get, but the
log you should be able to, not the passenger manifesto or anything like that. I just want to know when they left and when they landed and from where.
that we might be able to get. That's a good point.
What is that, the flight log?
Uh-huh. That actually shouldn't be that hard. You know what? Actually, Molly, I'm going to have to talk to Molly because I think she might be able to get that stuff because she's looked into that stuff before for other things we've done. Absolutely. We will look at that. Good point, Tomboy.
Okay, but I have to hop down now because, I'm going to be in where I turn robotic.
Okay. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, but I'll be in chat. All right.
Thanks, son. Bye.
Bye.
All right, so this is the next clip that Meg sent me here. And this goes along with the last thing, so here we go.
One of the 4 students killed yesterday near the University of Idaho has ties to our area. Moscow police just released the names of the students. They say Ethan Chapin was a 20-year-old from the town of Conway, just south of Mount Vernon. Police also identified the other 3 victims. 2 were from Idaho and 1 from Arizona. But we're still learning to find out more about what happened in this case. For now, police are calling the deaths homicides after responding to initial reports of an unconscious person on a road near the University golf courses. Classes were canceled today, but will resume tomorrow.
Let me say something one more time, guys. Hang on. Sorry. I didn't catch it fast enough.
That one of the 4 students killed yesterday. Near the University of Idaho has ties to our area. Moscow police just released the names of the students. They say Ethan Chapin was a 20-year-old from the town of Conway, just south of Mount Vernon. Police also identified the other 3 victims. 2 were from Idaho and 1 from Arizona. But we're still learning to find out more about what happened in this case. For now, police are calling the deaths homicides after responding to initial reports of an unconscious person on a road near the University of golf courses.
Did you guys catch that? I'll let you hear that part again. That's why we're hearing this. Listen to this very closely here, what he says.
Near the University of golf courses. Classes were canceled, responding to initial reports of an unconscious person on a road near the University of golf course. After responding to initial reports of an unconscious person on a road near the University of golf course. After responding to initial reports of an unconscious person on a road near the University of golf courses.
After responding to a call for an unconscious person on a road near the university golf courses. We've never heard that before. That is very weird. Okay. How does that connect to what? See, here's the pieces, folks, that we're not supposed to know. Okay. In my opinion, of course. This is the stuff that we were not supposed to know about. Okay. So we have a whole bunch of other little stuff on the road, okay, near the golf courses, nothing to do with this. Why is this attached to this? Think about that. And this did come out a long time ago. I remember hearing about this. There's a lot of this. It was all very quickly, and I mean very quickly, rolled up and pushed under the rug, folks. They did not want this out, okay? And think about this. This is probably where the truth is at, okay, in the very beginning. So I'm just saying, Meg and Christy, you guys are awesome. These things are interesting, okay? That's all I'm going to say. I don't know if you guys remember hearing any of this stuff way, way, way back, but I do. Why was all this stuff buried? Why was all this stuff changed and hidden? So if you remember, the original timeline was listed between 3 and 4 a.m. This stuff is out. This stuff was swept away real quick. The person at at 4:20 being aggressive, that was taken in by PD. The other call was somebody won't roll down her window. There's also another statement that was made early on about 2 people going into the ER with cuts all over their hands, so on and so forth. We have the thing with James Curtis Leonard with the cuts all over his arms and stuff from cutting chicken, right? So that's a good question, Vonda. Where is CCTV footage from the road near the golf course to that hospital? There are cameras everywhere. There very well could be. This is a campus area, so that's what I'm saying. So, yeah, there were, exactly, Moonlight. There were 2 people that supposedly went into ER early that morning with cuts on them. That they very quickly dispelled that and swept that under the rug. I'm not saying this stuff is true, but I'm not saying it's not, because we don't know that. They hid it from us. Why did they hide it from us? You got to ask that question. And like what Tomboy said, there's another person that could have been life flighted or care flight, whatever you guys call it there. We call it life flight here, or medevac from one hospital to the next. I'd like to see what that log. Okay.
And
just
James
saying.
Leonard was not on the alternate perps with any type of buccal swabs or fingerprints, was he?
Not that I saw. You mean the witness list? No.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I'm curious. That's what I'm saying. Do they have Leonard's DNA?
I mean, he about killed his girlfriend or wife or whatever she is and the daughter.
Right.
I mean, he had slices. He was going nuts. He was either on something or that's just him. Didn't he shoot somebody that night?
I'm trying to remember. I don't remember all of it, but
I'm pretty
it's
sure
possible,
he did.
Terry.
He called somebody else over and shot them. And what I don't understand also, which really is odd, is if like yesterday we were going over, was it Gunderson that was knocking on doors in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
okay,
that was the body cam we covered yesterday.
right. And if you recall, one of the guys said, I didn't hear any gunshots. So somewhere along the line, and then plus Chrissy's aunt or the aunt, said
I
that there
mean,
was
I
gunfire.
mean, right?
So, in my opinion, that early on, they didn't even. I mean, obviously, they didn't even know Xana was dead. I mean, they say an unconscious person, so you can't tell what type of wounds they have, wouldn't you? I get it that they showed. They said, "Well, we made everybody there show their hands for what gun or slices if they had cuts." But why didn't they do GSR swabs?
They didn't do anything right in this case, Terry. That's a good question. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Give me a quick second. Let me try something for you guys. Hold on one quick second, you guys.
It's like if you know any form of information about the crime itself, being in law enforcement, and then you come across somebody with a statement like that, and them not knowing anything about the case or whatever, and they raise it, that's a red flag.
Well, yeah,
So
and then plus,
my question to Gunderson is, what was going through your mind whenever you heard that,
well,
and
what
why
about
didn't you question
what's
it?
her Bethany saying she saw firecrackers or light? I mean, which they, in their head they're thinking gun. So you do a GSR swab, or
It
is it
just kind
raining
of
one?
coincides with what my feeling about the Rosie and Tisdale, or whatever his name was, but their patrol that night. I mean, you see several people in front of the residence, but you didn't say anything, didn't do anything. I know I mentioned this a lot, but it just speaks on the mindset of the law enforcement there. You're looking for open containers, but this is like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, and you see several people in front of this house, and you never question them. You never stop and figure out what they're up to.
Well, I
Because
mean,
they
yeah,
don't
they
have
should have had
containers,
their
so we're
fingerprints.
just
They should have looked for their fingerprints, their swabs. They were in the area, and they should have had GSR swabs too. I
and
mean,
they kind of raise another red flag with me about the Gabby Petito case, in the sense that Moab could have prevented something happening to Gabby,
oh God,
but
yeah.
they were so not, what do you say,
Is that the
trained.
is
They're
that
not
the
properly trained enough
right,
to identify the issues of domestic violence. Um,
right? Why would he take Brian to a hotel and make Gabby just leave her there?
and then knowing that Gabby might come by and pick her up later, which it is what it is. I mean, that's domestic violence. That's what happens. Not 9 out of 10. So I mention that because Tisdale seen warning signs and he wasn't aware of it because he only had one track mind that night. So he could have put a stop right then and there. But what was Rosie doing going in and out of the house at that time in the morning too? If that's true. But
Well,
I
I
have
mean, yeah,
questions.
you're right. I don't understand why they didn't do all the follow up that they should have done. No wonder Ann came in and said, "What the heck? I want training."
Good point. Very good point. So this is the area 1540 North Mountain View Road. Okay. Over here. Hold on. That report came from. Let me slide this out. Mountain View Park. Just trying to give you guys. There it is. As you see, this is farm country. But it's right outside the city. Okay, it's not far at all. And this is where the person was brought in from that was found on the road, so on and so forth in that report. Just want you to know, get a little like bird's eye view onto where this was, so everybody has kind of a visual for this. Okay. So they responded out here at some point in time. I think it was 3-something a.m. And then we have the. If I go back to this view, if I can get to it, hold on. I'm not very good with this map stuff, guys, so please excuse me. Hold on. There's a trailer park out here too. It's right here somewhere. I can't find it, but it's here. Maybe that's it there. It's in this vicinity right here. That could be it there. But anyway, I think that's what Tandy's talking about. Mountain View Trailer Park. Yeah, if you look at that on the map, it shows it. If I can get this to shrink back down to where I want it to be. Guys, I don't know how to use this thing. We have Big Oak Meadows right there as well. There's which is where the golf course and stuff is. There's the layers. That's what I was trying to do. Sorry. Oh no, this is my place. I'm sorry, not Big Oak Meadows. That's what happened. I was looking at something the other day. My apologies. Anyway, so that's the area where this all went down. Okay. Bingo. Sorry about that. There we go. Mountain View Park is there. I do believe that's the park itself. But the trailer park, where the hell is that trailer park at, you guys? I just had it looked up. There's a trailer park out here. Jesus. Anyway, I just feel like there's a relation to this, okay? I truly do.
I thought that for the longest. And you know what else I cannot, and I know I've asked this over and over, but I'm just going to ask it again. If you recall, the Daily Mail had Scott, I think his last name is Cohen.
Yeah,
I think that
Scott
was
Cohen. Scott Cohen, yes.
Sean Cohen. Sean Cohen.
The last name I know what you're talking about, yeah.
What the heck? I mean, he does this whole interview. Then he goes and knocks on the door of the other guy, the people that were bleaching out the red car the next morning.
Right.
Then he's talking to this kid, and this kid says, oh, he can't afford to live in whatever, so he lives in the trailer park, but he does school. And he's actually he called Washington and said, you should look at cars in the parking lot. What? Why is this kid going to do that? And then next thing you know, you never hear about Sean again. Never. He's done. He's gone.
Yep. That's what they do. They make these things disappear. Just like we never heard, in my opinion, after Kathy Mabutt said what she said, which we knew she wasn't supposed to, they shut her down. She never made another statement again. That tells you, you know, when they get rid of these people and they pull people out of the public view, that tells you something right there. Yeah, it should, at least in my opinion.
I mean,
Candy said,
him?
What's that?
Did somebody threaten him?
I mean, that's a very huge possibility. Good to see you, Cat Lady. Thanks for joining us. But yeah, Tandy says that the ISP doc about the man that was found wandering on the road, but they said it was Lewiston. Could it have been Moscow? Absolutely, it could have been Moscow. That's a very good point, Tandy. Thank you for pointing that out. No, I don't believe they did, Meg. I don't believe there was an interview in any of the reports I saw them interviewing Christy's niece, who was on campus and made that phone call to them. I'd like to know why she said that. I would really like to know why she said that. Why did she make that call, and why did she say what she said?
And why did nobody from the G's go to the school?
Yeah, right. What, did they know that there was no point in doing it already, or?
I know everybody says, oh, because he said that he had a few beers watching football. I don't care. We all know what
Yes.
Steve's like. Do you think a couple of beers are going to keep him from driving there?
It was somebody else could have drove too, Terry. And as a parent, you're a parent, I'm a parent. We've talked about parenting things together on the phone. Okay. As parents, we both know that if somebody came at one of our children, where would we be immediately? In the
With
car,
our child.
driving. Right. That's exactly what we'd be doing.
I'm like, have you ever heard of an Uber or a private driver? I know you can't figure them out. You can't separate them, but.
Well, one of them, they were both there. Christy could have drove. Steve could have, whoever was better off. Any of them could have drove, guys. Nobody left.
Grandma was there.
Mm-hmm.
The children were there. Everyone was there because they were decorating for Christmas, according to Christy.
Oh, okay, Moonlit. Well, thank you for joining us. I appreciate you very much.
Yeah, I gotta run too.
Okay. Well, okay. Do I smell funny or something? Everybody's leaving.
No, I gotta go to the store. I gotta get a few things. So
No.
I didn't want to stay on the whole time.
No worries, bro. Thank you for joining us today.
All right, man.
Take care, buddy. Be careful out there. Yeah, right, Christy. No way I would not have went. I would be leaving as I hung up the phone, just like Karen Laramie did. That's period. Every one of us would have done the same thing. Okay. So remember that.
Karen, we never hear from her. She's like said.
I know. No,
like
they
two
speak.
things in this entire case.
They speak for her all the time. Same with Ben and Kara. You know, those are the three people that I question. What do they truly believe and think on this? I know what Kara thinks. Kara had an open mind on this and said, you know, that she's open to the fact that other people could have been involved. And she even says in her report, if you guys remember something, Smiling Sleuth says that the man wandering on the road was Mowich. The article in the newspaper claimed he died from injuries in a car accident, which was not true. Thank you, Smiling. That's a very, very good point. Tomboy pointed that out and found that out quite a while back.
Was the one that Leonard shot?
I don't know. I
That's
don't know.
something I need to look up.
I mean, that's a possibility. That's a huge possibility, Terry. Just Amber, welcome. Good to see you. And Amber says, hey, Kent, good to see you, my friend. After listening to that recording again, I believe the red Mustang that was being forensically searched was actually the daughter's car, the one speaking in the recording, right? And you know what's funny is
wouldn't she have said something like, that's my car?
Could be, yeah.
You would say that was my car.
There were some Mustangs that were seen that night, by the way. Okay. Remember that. There were a couple of them. So, hell, there was a Mustang. I'm telling you, when I watched it's great to see you, Amber. Thank you for being here. When I watched the Grub Truck video, the taillights that pop in the window there sure as hell looked like Mustang taillights. They're you know what they are. I mean, Terry, you know what I'm talking about. When you see, they're very specific. You can tell what they look like. That's all I'm saying. So,
and plus, it's going to have that louder noise than a muffler like noise.
Right. I got you. Tonka says if you can link Mowich to Jordan Baker from the Kopaka situation, you might be able to convince me he was involved. And I understand. I get it. Just saying, guys, there's some things here. Hey, Done One, good to see you. There's some things here that we weren't told. And I feel like these things are the pieces of the truth that we're not supposed to have. And if we could put all those together in its own neat little puzzle, well, I believe that there's a possibility we might know something. I'm just saying. Now, I do have another video, jumping a little sideways on this that I want to review before we get to these documents that the Chaos Sector put out just the other day. This is from yesterday. And I think it's quite interesting. You guys, they've been doing some interesting stuff here. So there's their link. And I really would like to see, what is that? A little gnat bug or something. I would like to see you guys jumping over there and subscribing and showing some appreciation for the stuff that these other channels are doing. Please and thank you very much. 1 second here. I got to find my little thing here. But this is a good conversation, you guys. These are interesting things, I'm telling you, that definitely should not be ignored. Okay. And being that everybody in here is a critical thinker, I know what you guys are doing with this stuff. Exactly what we should be doing. 1 second here. I'm sorry. Okay. There we go. All right, guys. So let's check this out. Unfortunately, like I said, we have to mute Terry because I have something screwed up on my end of things.
Okay.
We can't talk because it echoes really bad. I don't know why. It's ridiculous, but I'll figure it out soon. I promise when I get some time. And thanks. I appreciate you joining me, Terry. Appreciate you very much. Thank you. Absolutely. All right. There's the link for Chaos Sector, guys, right there. All right. Here we go.
Return to the Matrix. Jeff H. does what he does best, and that's deflect from the points made in the prior episode. Heck, even the episode prior to that one. If we ask you, what type of murder investigation disregards blood DNA of males discovered at the crime scene? And you're...
I'm sorry, I should have said this. This says motive confirmed is the title to this one, just so you guys know. And I like how they started it right away. It's funny, but here we go.
Responses, and Taylor claims Bethany had exculpatory evidence, so it's a fact. In a sarcastic manner, you have just deflected from the question posed to you. And that proves you're dishonest. All you had to do was admit, yeah, that's an unlawful investigation. I would agree. And the chaos could have a genuine conversation or debate about other elements of the case. But deflecting from the issue at hand, you've only confirmed what we already detected from you. A DC agent, or for those who don't know what that stands for, damage control agent. You've been addressed. And now we can move on. If you're not willing to address the issues at hand, please don't waste your time posting. We won't block you. That's not our style, but, you know.
We didn't care to deal with all of the documents after the guilty plea, but I guess we should just reiterate everything we've already exposed with those same documents. And let's touch on the other housemate, whose accounts have never been clarified until now. Bethany. Yep, throughout the case, Bethany's accounts seemed elusive in a sense. No affidavit was released of her accounts, which indicated she was not an actual witness of anything significant. But apparently, there was significance. Quote, on November 13 at around 13:47 hours, I interviewed Bethany Funk at the Moscow Police Department in regards to the death of her housemates. Bethany was home sleeping in her room located on the basement floor of the residence. Bethany has an iPhone 11 Pro cell phone. Bethany went to we assume this is Sigma Chi, the Sigma Chi party at around 10:30 with Ethan and Xana. Okay, so this confirms that Bethany was with Ethan and Xana. They hung out in an apartment for a while, and then Bethany went up to the main part of the fraternity to hang out at the party. Madison and Kaylee went to the corner club together, not sure when they left. Bethany did not see Ethan and Xana at the party and left to go to residence at Taylor Avenue. Now let's stop here briefly. So initially, Bethany, Xana, and Ethan were at a party. Then Bethany went up to the main part of the fraternity to hang out at the party. They appeared to part ways here. But did you notice that Bethany mentions where Xana, Ethan, Madison, and Kaylee were, but she didn't mention where Dylan was? Perhaps she didn't know where Dylan was. Let's continue. Bethany walked home around 1-ish, and when she got back to 1122 King Road, Dylan and were at the residence, and they all watched a movie together. So Dylan was already home. We know this. She was the first housemate back home. We'll get into where she was allegedly at. But Dylan is back at home with company, which appears to be a male. Now, her boyfriend claimed he wasn't in Moscow that night. Rather, he was in Boise. Well, who is this male Dylan is snuggled up with watching movies? Wait, let's not claim it's a male. It might be a female friend just hanging out. Nevertheless, it's still a bit suspicious.
Well, okay. If that's the case, then somebody explain to me why Dylan's boyfriend, Quinn Kelly, is on the witness list, folks. If he's not there, has nothing to do with this, why is he on the witness list? That's all I'm asking.
Bethany goes on to claim that Madison and Kaylee returned home around 1:45 to 2 a.m. The house and Dylan went to bed. So in about an hour, leaves once Madison and Kaylee arrive back home. Could be something there, or it could be nothing. Bethany hung out with Madison and Kaylee for a while in Kaylee's room. Okay, so in the exhibit, this was the claim, but now we know that Bethany was also upstairs, while Dylan apparently went to bed. Bethany and Madison took Murphy out to go to the bathroom between 2:30 and 3 a.m. Okay, now it was speculation early on that Kaylee had taken Murphy out for a walk at some point, but it was actually Bethany and Madison. It's not that strange, to be honest. They're all housemates, and Murphy was family with everyone. But it does raise the question of why Kaylee didn't accompany both of them outside. Bethany did not stay outside for very long as it was cold. Madison then went to bed and watched a television show to help her go to sleep. Now stop right here. Who is confirming this? Bethany? So Madison told Bethany she is going to watch a specific television show? Let's say this is possible, but what was left out of this report is that Madison had asked Bethany if she's seen Murphy, and Bethany told her no, meaning Murphy had run off somewhere, right? But if Madison knew Murphy had run off, wouldn't she tell Kaylee about it? Okay, this justifies the narrative that Kaylee and Madison were texting Jack to see if he found Murphy, which was around 2:30 to 3 a.m., the same time that Bethany claimed her and Madison took him outside. So an approximate time, perhaps 5 minutes later, Murphy runs off. The timing is off, though. I believe it was 2:26 a.m. to 2:52 a.m., which both Kaylee and Madison had been texting Jack, which was allegedly about Murphy missing. Bethany would go back inside within a few seconds, and Madison is still out on the patio area with Murphy, right? Now, at what point would Bethany know that Madison went back upstairs in her bedroom to watch this specific show because Madison would have asked her about Murphy missing? Did she just say the hell with it and tell Bethany she's going upstairs to watch Baby Daddy to help her go to sleep? She's going to notify Kaylee that Murphy had run off, and of course Kaylee decides to go look for him. Did Madison go with her, or did she just let Kaylee deal with it? Remember, Dylan stated that Kaylee told Murphy to go upstairs in her body cam accounts. So what time would this have been? Because we can assume that Madison is in her bedroom allegedly asleep already. It would have to be after the 2:52 a.m. time frame of them texting, so this pushes into the 3 a.m. hour, meaning Kaylee is still outside. Wait, let's make sure our speculation doesn't get misunderstood. Bethany and Madison were outside from 2:30 to 3 a.m. This is considered an approximate time, not specific. In Bethany's view, it could have been 2:30 a.m. or it could have been 3 a.m. But if we align the claim the text messages were about Murphy missing, then it would have to be around 2 a.m., as the first text message was at 2:26 a.m. In the Linda Lane surveillance, a dog is heard barking at 2:02 a.m. and then howling, yes, howling, at 3:06 a.m. Now, the first bark could be a bark of greeting the housemates back at home. This would be around the time they arrived back, which would be around 2 a.m. But the howling at 3:06 a.m. is definitely not a pleasant expression of the dog. As we pointed out, dogs howling indicate more specific issues that the dog has experienced. 1, the dog could be lonely and seeking attention or affection from its owner. In connection to being lonely, the dog could observe its owner leaving the home, which causes sadness. The dog could howl in response to distinct noises, such as noises that could be considered foreign, such as sirens, a car crash, bamming noises.
Or if the dog was on this balcony right here, being put out that door, and happened to be going back and forth trying to get back in, and happened to stand up on the windowsill and look through that window, hearing noises, and saw its owner being attacked or hurt, that's going to cause howling as well, in my opinion. Just saying.
Humans having an argument or physical fight. But the one that stands out the most is distress. A dog in distress will howl as it experiences stress due to certain circumstances. I don't know, like Murphy knowing Kaylee was being attacked and then he didn't sense life from her body anymore. This would be at 3:06 a.m. The howling at this time indicated that there was something that triggered this emotion from Murphy. Now, if Bethany had asked Madison if she's seen Murphy, then Madison had lost him. More than likely, Kaylee then goes outside to find him, although it's kind of hard to believe Murphy wouldn't have been able to return back to the home. It's not like they were miles away, right? Something doesn't add up with this setting. Madison wouldn't lose Murphy like that. Or better yet, when he runs off, where exactly would Madison be or doing to where she didn't know where he was? They're on the porch, where the couch was located, right? So Murphy would run around in that area and then come back inside, especially since he knows Kaylee is home. Perhaps if Kaylee wasn't there, he would be more prone to lure off further, but he definitely wants to get back to his owner. It makes me wonder if this even happened. Now, Dylan did state that Kaylee went upstairs as she told Murphy to go upstairs. It creates a setting where Kaylee had found Murphy and then came back inside, but there wasn't any mention of Kaylee going to find Murphy, either from Dylan's accounts nor Bethany's accounts. In other words, there is a gap of activity that is not revealing where Kaylee was and who she interacted with during the time frame Murphy allegedly was missing.
Wait, before we continue, there's more context to Murphy's wandering off. Apparently, some time prior, Murphy would go off deeper into the woods behind the home, coincidentally where the alleged stalker had been snooping around. Quote, "Did Brian Kohberger win over Kaylee Gonzalez's dog before the Idaho murders, letting him slip into house undetected?" Wow, but notice the subheader. Kaylee Gonzalez's golden doodle Murphy began to act strange before the murders, and at one point was taken from the home, say her friends. So Murphy was taken from the home prior to the murders. Let's see here. Now, who could just walk into the home while those housemates were gone and take Murphy away? I can think of one person or even another who was always there. And that one person, well, Kaylee had broken up with that one person about 3 weeks prior to the murders. Anywho, in the weeks before the Idaho murders, Kaylee Gonzalez's golden doodle Murphy began to suddenly run off into the woods. At the same time, a neighbor saw a person walking through their yard who they were 92% certain was Kohberger. Kohberger befriending the dog could explain how he managed to sneak into the home of his victims without drawing the dog's excitement or anger. Yep, nice try. Quote, "Did Brian Kohberger make an effort to befriend the dog of one of his victims before stabbing her to death? The friends and roommates of the 4 University of Idaho students murdered by Kohberger told police that Murphy, the dog owned by Kaylee Gonzalez, developed a sudden and surprising new habit in the weeks leading up to the massacre. Surviving roommates Dylan Mortensen and Bethany Funk both told investigators about at least one incident when Gonzalez felt she was being watched and followed as she took her golden doodle out for a walk near the off-campus home they shared in Moscow. Funk told police that Gonzalez described the incident to her by saying she saw an unknown male up above their house to the south who was staring at her when she took Murphy out to go potty. Unquote. Now it says, in the weeks leading up to the massacre, Kaylee broke up with Jack about 3 weeks prior to the massacre, and he literally stayed right across the street. Oops, let's try to just examine the article. Around the same time, Murphy began to sometimes suddenly run off into that same wooded area above the house. That information comes from two friends of the victims who spoke with police in interviews which were just unsealed by the Moscow Police Department. The names of these friends are redacted in the reports. Quote, redacted stated Murphy ran up into the bushes behind the house on several occasions and would not return when called, unquote. One friend told police. Redacted stated they called Murphy numerous times before he would come back. That friend then directed officers to another individual who they claimed could confirm her story and provide more examples. She told police it happened at a Halloween party shortly before the murders while the group was on the back patio once again and Murphy began to run into the woodline behind the house and not come back. The group also heard noises too that time, similar to what it would sound like if someone was moving through the woods on foot, the friend said in his interview. She then cited another example when 2 weeks before the murders, Murphy once again displayed similar behavior of running into the woods and not coming back when called. Okay, now this definitely seems to align with the time frame where Kaylee had broken up with Jack. To be honest, this isn't necessarily odd behavior. It is a dog. A dog will naturally snoop around like that because it tracks scents and such, so that's always a common occurrence. But they're trying to make it appear that the reason Murphy was venturing off is because Kohberger had been leaving a trail of fucking Scooby snacks deeper into the woods. Someone else could have been doing that as well, who is definitely a potential suspect till this day even.
Scooby snacks, that'll do the trick. 90.
No, hey, Busy. Meg, you can go, hon. Don't worry about that. I have Busy and a few others that are in here. You'll be okay. I got it. Don't worry about it. Do what you got to do, hon.
82% positive it was Kohberger who was spotted in the yard. This is nothing more than retroactive claims, meaning he was already arrested for the crime, so he will be the suspect in retrospect in every incident revolving stalking or other suspicious activity. And everyone needs to understand this, and don't be fooled with these so-called witness accounts. It's to strengthen the belief he was the murderer. But we asked the same question about the claims from WSU students who claimed Kohberger was snooping around their homes and even tried to open the door. In a house full of females, and one was troubled about being stalked, and this stalker was watching her in the woods. They never decided to install a security system, especially after someone had broken into their home and taken Murphy away. Xana's father repaired the front door, remember? Seems it wasn't that big of a deal, even though someone was told to leave the property and was trespassing. I guess not. Let's continue because this is linked to Bethany's accounts also. Quote, she told police that both she and Gonzo.
Thank you so much, Too Fast for Please, for that. I think that goes towards the goal for the Scooby Snack Fund. And, of course, I got my Scooby shirt on, so we're all on the right path today. Thank you so much for that, Too Fast. I appreciate it. Very generous. All right, back to where we were.
Were concerned about someone being behind the house when Murphy would behave in this manner. The most concerning incident, the friend told police, was when she and Gonzalez arrived at the home to find the rear side door standing open and Murphy was missing. Murphy was eventually located, but why he developed this habit remains a mystery. Wait, we have to stop once again. It's not necessarily a mystery to why Murphy, quote, developed that habit. What's more of a mystery is who had been in the home and taken Murphy out when Kaylee had returned, because whoever this is entered through the sliding doors, went upstairs specifically to Kaylee's room, grabbed Murphy, but apparently nobody saw this incident, though. Oh, okay. But they spotted the stalker on several other occasions. Oh, but none of the neighbors saw him walk into the home, walk out with Murphy. Oh, okay. Quote, however, a neighbor of the girls also noticed something concerning around that time, telling police she spotted a man who looked nervous, walking through her backyard and then returning along that same route. The man allegedly ignored her as she informed him he was trespassing on private property. Oh, those concerned neighbors. Somehow they didn't hear any screaming or violence the night of the murders. Oh, okay. She told police that the man who had curly hair with a large...
Thank you, Witchy. Again, $5. Super chat, Fiddlesticks Fund. Fiddlestitch needs love too. That's right. Too bad Lucy's not here. That's hilarious. I love it. Thank you again, Witchy. Very generous. You guys are so appreciated.
Large nose was Koberger, adding that she was 92% certain of this fact. If it were Koberger who had been sneaking around and drawing Murphy's attention, it could explain how he managed to slip undetected into the home without an excited or protective dog loudly barking at the intruder. Instead, the interviews and police reports suggest that Murphy did not start to bark until after Koberger left the scene. Koberger spared Murphy's life, and police found the dog with the bodies of Gonzalez and Madison Mogan, unquote. So I guess Koberger knew Dylan then because he spared her life as well, right? Just pathetic. Curly hair with a large nose, 92%. This can't be confirmed, and how random is 92%? Should have been like 90 or 95%, more common percentages of probabilities. But I guess that number made sense. Since she has this description, we assume this was during the daytime. So, during the day, Koberger just walked into their home, apparently didn't concern himself with being caught inside if they abruptly came back, or by lounging Hunter who will come by, or Ethan, or any other random college student that would come over. No, he drove from Pullman to Moscow during the daytime, waited and watched, then went inside, upstairs, specifically to Kaylee's room. And for some reason, he felt Murphy needed to be, quote, tamed for his upcoming plans to murder Kaylee. If you thought it was irrational for Koberger to enter a Wolf house to attempt murder at night, it's even more irrational for him to just walk inside the, I'm done.
But a familiar face, someone who was co-owner of Murphy, who had been at the home many times, knew the layout, knew where Kaylee's bedroom was, knew where Murphy was, would have no problems going into the home, and surely neighbors wouldn't see anything wrong with it because, hey, it's Jack, he's cool. Do you think they would say it was Jack snooping around and walking into the home and walking Murphy? And it's likely this would happen considering he is the co-owner of Murphy. I could see Jack coming over when Kaylee was gone, regardless if there were other housemates there, and he would come in and take Murphy for a walk. And mind you, some of those next-door neighbors moved out the next day. Moscow PD visited. The one female clearly looked like she knew something. Even the mainstream media had asked them questions about the alleged audio of the crime happening their camera picked up. Of course, they claimed it was fake. The audio was deemed to be fake, as a male had called Bonnie and told her to get over there as the attacks were unfolding. This was so-called debunked. You also have to keep in mind that at some point, two of those neighbors had gone over to the home around the time the 911 call was made. It was a female neighbor who had spoken to dispatch, remember? At some point, they were called over to the home because Hunter and Emily were already there. But let's get back to the main point. At around 400 to 420 hours, Bethany heard what she thought was a firework and saw a spark on the ground from under her door. Bethany then heard Murphy barking. Now stop. Bethany's affidavit was never, I repeat, was never officially released that included this information. In this setting, Bethany is awake, and it doesn't mention when she had awakened, so we can assume she was awake for some time. The issue here is that she definitely heard the screaming if she heard everything else, but what she assumed to be a firework. Perhaps the claim Kaylee was shot with a beanbag gun is likely. It was considered a bit irrational at one point by the chaos, debating one of the posters, and we went back and personally gave that poster the benefit of the doubt. And the reason was that apparently Kaylee's face was brutally disfigured. AR-100 beanbag gun, detectives found this in the black coat on Taylor Avenue. We'll come back to that in a moment, but let's continue. So Bethany then claims Dylan called her and said she had seen someone in the house, and Bethany told her she could come down to her room and sleep with her. Dylan went to Bethany's room and went to bed. They woke up at around 1100 hours and talked to the other friends who came over, and they checked on Xana and Ethan and found them deceased. Bethany originally called 911 and stated that her friend was passed out and would not wake up. Bethany talked about an incident with Kaylee, who stated about a month ago she saw an unknown male up above their house to the south who was staring at her when she took Murphy to go potty. Bethany stated that Kaylee broke up with her longtime boyfriend about 3 months ago because she was planning to move to Texas, unquote. Now, I thought it was 3 weeks prior to the murders. It was in earlier reports. Doesn't matter. It's still within a time frame of all the stalking and a motive exist. Now, Bethany stated Kaylee broke up with Jack because, yes, this word leads into a reason, because Kaylee was moving to Texas.
So Kaylee and Jack broke up because she was moving to Texas. Is it fair to come to this conclusion? Of course. So around this time frame, a unknown male was snooping in the back of the yard, watching Kaylee specifically, yes, Kaylee specifically, while she walked Murphy. Don't know about you guys, but it sure seems like an ex who simply won't let Kaylee go. But you know, he's 1,000% innocent according to Kaylee's family. Well, Steve didn't think so. But Bethany claims she saw a spark from under her door. Now, in the interview, she elaborated a bit and said that the noise could have been Ethan walking around and he may have knocked over something and such. But the spark that she saw from under her door, well, this spark or flash is more than likely from her floor. It brings us back to our crime scene analysis.
Taking the virtual tour throughout the home, we provided our analysis and theory as to what had taken place in real time. Now, on the first floor, you have Bethany's bedroom and the alleged vacant bedroom, which was Ashland's. In that episode, while exploring that vacant bedroom, we noticed there was a fuse box present in that bedroom. Quote, what if the lights had been turned off? If so, the killers would be equipped with night vision goggles. Perhaps we assumed at that time. Based on Dylan's accounts, it was very dark, meaning lights were off in the home. Now, let me explain. Before someone assumed the lights were on, as Molly claimed to see the lights on upon arriving, the lights may have been on at some point, but they may have been turned off for the attacks or ambush. Perhaps this is when Murphy started barking. Mind you, this is located in the, quote, vacant bedroom. Someone would know this circuit box was in this bedroom, unquote. Now, this aligns with Bethany's claim of seeing a flash or spark from under her door, because her viewpoint in her bedroom is facing directly to the front door and the vacant bedroom. She would not see a spark from upstairs because that light wouldn't travel that far downstairs, but a spark that was on her floor, directly down the hall near the front door where the security box was, and further down where the vacant bedroom was with the circuit box, yes, she would get that direct flashing light traveling to her bedroom. You understand? So we know that this activity occurred on the first floor, not the second floor. And that only brings about activity from another individual on that floor. Again, there was blood DNA of a male discovered on the bridging stair rail, descending down to the first floor. This is a suspect. And since this male is traveling downstairs, he left through the front door. Later Sunday morning, it was reported that the front door was wide open. Well, in previous incidents related to the alleged stalker, the housemates came back from a coffee run and discovered the front door wide open. So this is someone who would access through the front door, which has that's right, a code. And we all know there were many in that circle who had the code. And furthermore, we know that code spread to others who may have not been in that circle. Of course. Let's say you have an apartment complex with a security code to get in. Someone uses drugs in that complex. This user gives a security code to the dealer, so they can drop off the drugs to them discreetly, of course. But now the dealer has the code. The user also gives other users the code, and now you have many individuals in and out of the complex who don't reside there. In other words, a highly visible and known party house has individuals directly and indirectly obtaining that security code. The point here is that there was a male suspect who had either injured himself or was attacked by one of the victims running downstairs. Heck, could he have been bitten by Murphy? That's also possible. Bethany didn't mention hearing anyone running downstairs in her interview, but we know the male ran downstairs because he left blood on the bridging stairs. Bethany was silenced early on because this is the exculpatory evidence, my friends. If there was a male running downstairs, then this would prove there were multiple suspects. I mean, we know it anyway, but this proves without a doubt there were multiple suspects. And since this male was never publicly identified, we know his identity is linked to a trail away from Kohberger. That's right. The blood DNA of this male, then identified, is someone who is linked to those housemates. And the further you go down that trail, you end up in that circle of peers being involved. That's why those males were never identified, because it puts the college circle in the hot seat. And that seat is scorching hot, my friends. We know what type of injury that male suffered. Was it from being cut, bitten, scratched, scraped? Madison's fingernails consist of DNA of unknown individuals. It was never publicly identified. For those who are requesting Moscow PD release information, start with the identities of those 3 additional males and the DNA discovered underneath Madison's fingernails. Bet $1 that they'll fight tooth and fingernail to avoid releasing that information. Now let's address the beanbag gun theory for a moment.
Now, there were several officers who provided incident reports, so we just picked one out of the list. This is from Officer Corbin Smith. Quote, "In a third-floor bedroom, I observed 2 females laying in bed which appeared to have been stabbed to death. The female laying on the left half of the bed, as I looked at it from the doorway, was unrecognizable. Her face was completely disfigured and was stabbed several times. I was unable to comprehend exactly what I was looking at while trying to discern the nature of the injuries. The second female on the right half of the bed had multiple stab wounds. The comforter was soaked in blood and a pool of blood was still present." Unquote. Now, the description of Kaylee's facial wounds are considered cuts or slashes on her face. Someone wanted to disfigure her face rather than going in and just stabbing her to death, meaning this type of attack, along with the alleged slashes on Ethan's legs, are symbolic and strategic. The lone killer, alleged to be Kohberger, wouldn't have the time to invest this much time and focus on this type of attack. The only way a lone killer would have this much time to meticulously attack their victims in this manner is if there was only one victim, all alone at home, who lived alone. Let's say Kaylee was the target, and she lived alone in an apartment. She had a stalker who had been monitoring her for months or even a year. The stalker plans to murder Kaylee and has her daily life tracked down to when her lights turn off in her home. He breaks in late at night, around 4 a.m., then finds her sleeping. He covers her nose with an alcohol rag and she passes out. He then ties her up, puts a gag over her mouth so she can't scream, and, well, we won't go further into that scenario. But this is the patience and time allotted for someone to cut Kaylee's face up to the point it was disfigured. This was a concentrated attack upon Kaylee, and even though many would think Kohberger was the stalker who would have done this, he wouldn't have the time to concentrate on Kaylee's face, because physically, Kaylee would be fighting or trying to survive. You understand? These wounds either came after she was already deceased or no longer capable of resisting, or she was placed in a position where she was essentially held hostage, which allowed this type of injury to take place. Again, the injuries were so brutal that her face was unrecognizable. And I would even suggest that Dylan and Bethany saw this and didn't dare go near the 3rd floor afterwards due to that visual. But Corbin goes on to describe his findings. Quote, "I was assigned to hold security at the rear slider door. This was the alleged point of entry of the suspect. I observed very large footprints in the snow. I used a tape measure and the foot size measured approximately 13.5 to 14 inches. The footsteps went to and from the rear slider door. I observed the trail of footsteps head away from the slider, then turn right, around a stump in the backyard and lead toward the front of the house. I observed a set of small handprints on the window to the east of the slider. The screen to this window appeared damaged and was laying on the ground. I located smudged fingerprints on the glass slider door. There was a discarded black backpack in the backyard. I photographed these items and attached them to the case." Unquote. Now, the shoe size, we didn't find out what shoe size Kohberger wore, so we'll leave that to the side for now. The trail of those footprints, though, are going to the backyard, right? Well, this would mean the alleged Kohberger exited through the sliding doors, then turns left, heading to the back of the home. Well, how could Bethany see a naked man running out of the home, which would suggest Kohberger took off the Myers jumpsuit? He would be traveling opposite of where Bethany's bedroom is located, and not only that, she would have to be outside in the front yard to see him. So that claim does not correlate with Kohberger's alleged exit. Either this is a lie that was used to support the Myers jumpsuit narrative, or Bethany saw someone else run past her, like the male who ran downstairs onto her floor and then out the front door. But Corbin noticed fingerprints on a window, but these fingerprints were never identified. Who would this be? Zana? Kaylee? I think the reason this female, which it's likely to be, this female was never identified because it's Kaylee. And this is on the 2nd floor. Again, we keep coming back to this. If Kaylee was on the 2nd floor running away from the danger, then how did she get back upstairs? There were multiple killers. This is the only way she could end up back upstairs.
Now, there was speculation early on that Kaylee was shot in the face with a beanbag gun. Initially, we thought that was a wacky theory, but when we re-examined our episode about detectives on Taylor Avenue, well, it suddenly became a logical theory. The object the detective pulled out of that coat appeared to be some sort of weapon. We contemplated, thought about it, and assumed it was a black hatchet in its sheath. But looking at various styles of beanbag guns, we have to admit that is highly possible as well. The only thing we'd have to go back and check is the audio from the security camera next door and the Linda Lane audio to search for that sound effect. It wouldn't be as loud and strong of a force as a firearm shot, but you would hear it. The black backpack found behind the home. Whoever left the backpack in the backyard left it there, not caring about leaving it behind. Yes, Kohberger wouldn't leave that behind. He would take all of his items, including in his, quote, kill kit, with him. But someone who was hired to do the job and get the hell out of there wouldn't care about the backpack because there wouldn't be a direct trail to them personally anyway. It's a throwaway item in their eyes. You see, all of this was never reported early on. This is information that was sealed for some reason, and we see why. It was sealed because it would conflict with the lone killer narrative. There's just too much evidence and information that proves this was a multi-perp crime. Bethany's accounts do not claim to hear any screaming, but she heard Murphy barking approximately around 4 a.m. Well, this is the same time frame that Dylan heard screaming and Murphy barking. So Bethany avoided the screams because it puts her in the same position as Dylan of knowing her housemates were in danger. And then this also eliminates the so-called belief that there was a prank played on them. Here's the problem with Bethany. She has exculpatory evidence but decided to go with the prosecution. Bethany was aware of the attacks and murders just like Dylan was. There's a suspect who came down to Bethany's floor. It's a fact. It's evidence. It's fucking blood DNA of a male running down those stairs. This is what she knows. Now, in all of those documents of interviews and reports from multiple officers, there's...
Also, one more thing I want to point out since we have this view up right now. Yesterday in the report that we went over a little bit and talked about the Molly McMichael's report where she stated that she couldn't find the house because she couldn't see the address posted on the house because it was being hidden. Now, if you're pulling up on this house, folks, as we can see where 1122 is posted, I don't know, guys. I don't think I would have any problems finding that address on the house if it were me. So there's just one more point of contention that shows that Molly lied through her whole interview, in my opinion. Because it's right there. Okay, it's not hidden under here or under there or anywhere else. It's right there. So just one more thing to point out and remember.
More information revealed. Yet in all of it, which would take so much time to review, there is no mention of tracking the 3 additional males whose DNA was discovered at the crime scene. And that's the biggest problem. No matter what Bethany claims in her interview, no matter what Dylan claims, what Hunter claims, Emily, neighbor.
I also wanted you guys to understand that backpack they keep referring to was actually what they call, it's an insulated cooler bag. So it was for like having like pop or beer or whatever. You throw it in the bag, throw some ice in there, and it keeps it cold for a long time. That's what that bag ended up being. It's not an actual backpack.
And whoever was interviewed. The fact that there were individuals in that home, and one of them left blood on the stair rail running downstairs to the first floor, yet weren't identified and a part of the investigation. This only magnifies there was a cover-up. And there wouldn't be a cover-up if Kohberger was the killer. Simple. We'll get back to the surveillance of his alleged path. This is the...
Hold on, let's address something regarding the beanbag gun theory from Officer John Rosinski's interview. Now, there's a lot from this specific interview, and it draws our...
Yeah, guys, once we hit these documents and we're done with this, we're going to be going through those, and they're in with these documents, so we're going to be reviewing that as well.
Attention to other facets, we're compelled to address it. The interview by Rosinski appears to be with Katie, Kaylee's friend who was interviewed by 2020. It's the end of the episode, so I'll just speed things up a bit. Quote, on November 16, 2022, I spoke with Katie, we assume, at a substation on the University of Idaho campus. I asked if Katie had any special relationships with any of the victims, and Katie said she was really good friends with Xana and met Xana in her freshman year. Katie said she was also close friends with Kaylee and met her freshman year during recruitment. Katie said that she knew Katie the best. Okay, so this appears to be Katie. Quote, I asked Katie if Kaylee hung out or associated with anyone with violent tendencies. Katie said no and expressed she was confused about the incident because what she saw in the news. Now brace yourselves for what Katie admits in this interview. I asked Katie if Kaylee was involved in using illegal substances, and what did Katie say? Katie said, quote, just coke probably, unquote. I asked Katie if she saw Kaylee doing cocaine, and Katie said no, but she knew Xana was...
Okay. There we go. 1 minute here. Hold on, you guys.
Can I say what I found right before you did that?
Yeah, yes, go for it. I was just going to ask you if you had any thoughts or anything to add.
Malwich, I found, okay. So he did die on November 19th, 2022.
Yeah.
So, and they don't say why, but I think that he was shot. I think that James Leonard shot him.
There were he had multiple wounds, but yeah, it's possible. Absolutely possible, Terry.
I mean, he could have been shot and then wrecked. Who knows? But I don't know. I just wanted to say that, yeah, he did die right. So, I mean, that happened that same night. All of that weird stuff.
Yeah. I mean, very, very, very plausible situational stuff, Terry. I agree.
Hey, Jane.
Welcome, Jane. So great to see you today. I appreciate you for joining us, dear. Krista's in the house. Good to see you, Miss Krista.
And you know what else? They did not change. I mean, from what I've read, they haven't changed that front door lock code in over a year.
Probably not. I agree.
With all those people going in and out. And Kaylee, I also read that Kaylee and Maddie always locked their doors when they went out.
Yeah, I read that too. You are absolutely right.
So that's where you would have to have somebody that knows the code.
Oh, I agree. I agree. Many of them, or somebody that just left it unlocked per se, on purpose maybe, or not on purpose. They could have forgot.
I don't think those two would leave it. And how the heck is
not
Maddie,
those two?
The way we saw her, how the heck was she going to go up and watch a movie before she went to bed?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe when she ate, she sobered up a bit, but she was pretty messed up that night from what I saw. You know what I mean? I don't know. I have questions about that too. Just saying.
Even the guy put his sleeping hand up.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed. Let me see. Yeah, they do. More than one report stated that there was many people that knew those codes. Hunter Johnson knew the code because he says he hit the code and ran in the door. Many people knew the code, and that's a problem. And how it wouldn't be hard for one person to pass the code on to somebody else either. Think about that. You know, that wouldn't be hard at all. If you aren't one of the people that had the code, all you had to do was say, "Hey, what's the code to the door there? I'm going to do this, that, or whatever." Boom. That's it. Hey, Ro, good to see you, dear. Let me see here.
Oh, okay, Fizzy. That makes more sense. Okay. Yeah. I'm like, I just don't see Madison going up and watching a movie.
They got the detail wrong. Bethany is the one. Yeah, she was watching that baby daddy thing. Absolutely. 1 minute here.
And I could see Maddie not go back out to look for Murphy, and it's not because she was being rude. She probably passed out.
Good point. I think if anybody was asleep, she was the only one, in my opinion.
Oh, she was definitely.
She was pretty messed up that night. I do agree. Trying
I
to
was
figure
looking at
out.
a picture of a beanbag gun, and it actually looks almost like a vacuum
They
tube.
do. They do. There's a couple variations of it too, and it very well could be mistaken for that. Yes, I do agree. And there is the possibility of a flash bang. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm saying. And yeah, Critical is right. You don't need the code to the front door if the back slider was open. That's a fact. If it was left unlocked, that's all you had to do. Good point.
I just don't understand how the neighbors, especially like that one lady you pointed it out yesterday, that one girl. I mean, they had a dog in the at the very far end. You could like pretty much almost on top of the house. If Murphy was
Yeah,
howling,
right. I agree with that one, Terry. All right, you guys. Now to the fun part. Lola, welcome. Good to see you. Lola says, I think Dylan said that 11 people knew the code, but those 11 could have told 2 friends and such. That's what I was saying, Lola. Yeah. But again, it didn't even matter with the code because the back door was open. In my opinion, that's how that's how everything went down. So just saying. There we go. Okay. So moving forward. I don't think we need to worry about echo with this because there's no sound added to this. It's just these documents. So, next document where we left off last night, the notice of filing the defendant's objections to the juror questionnaire under seal. I may ask you to help me read today, Terry, if you don't mind.
Oh,
There's a
yeah.
lot. That one document I read yesterday was crazy long, but maybe not. We'll see. Comes now, Brian C. Koberger by through his attorneys of record and hereby submits to the court the defendant's objections to the jury questionnaire. Part 1, the general background. Questions 3 and 8 are the same question. Question 21 combines defense requested questions 19 and 20. The defense objects to the topics being combined. Question 23, queries about reading habits. And the defense requests a new query about media habits to be added next in sequence. The defense requests to see the question cover traditional mainstream media sources as well as social media sources, including following YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook groups. The part 2, the employment history. It says question 31, queries about. Do you guys think that this is something we need to read through? I don't know. This is more. All this is the juror questionnaire. I don't think this matters because there was no jury pick. So, but it's there. If you guys want to review it, you can more than like. I just think it'd be a waste of our time to go through this when we have other things that are way more important than this. So, let me jump over here. But it's there. Dean, welcome. Good to see you, my friend. I'm sorry I didn't say hi to you sooner. Give me a quick second. Boom. All right, so this one, you guys, definitely is more important than that last one, as far as this is concerned. The second notice of the filing defendant's proposed jury instructions under seal, or wait a minute, that's just the statement of it. I'm sorry, I grabbed the wrong one. There we go. Here we go. Here we go. Notice of amended exhibit list and motion to seal comes now. Wait, let me make sure this is okay. That's just the motion. And this is where'd it go? State of Idaho by and through Latah County Prosecuting Attorney and hereby provides notice that the state delivered an amended exhibit list to the defendant on May 13th to 25. Copies of the amended exhibits will be hand delivered to the defendant on May 15th. The state has made the following amendments. 1. They added 4 photographs, S1 833 through S836. 2. Redacted as S21 pursuant to the court's order on state's motions in limine. Re, the text messages and 911 call. And then 3, redacted as 211A pursuant to court's memorializing oral rulings on motions in limine. 4, they removed the exhibit S229-5, replaced 883-8 through S311 with official copies. Amended S349A to reflect only purchases for card ending in 1973. 7, they removed S356 and 8 added S3102 through S3103A and B. The state moves that the court, pursuant to Idaho Court Rule 32 NI 6 and Idaho Code 74124A and B, for the order sealing the state's amended exhibit list pursuant to the court's October 8th to 24 order. The guilt phase witness list was to be filed under seal. The state motions that the amended exhibit list be filed under seal following the same reasoning. Signed by good old Smashley Jennings. So there's that. Hold on. This is the one. Oh, okay. So this here shows. 1 minute. The state's S1 to motion to reclaim the exhibits. All right. So this says here ENS business record affidavit for the grand jury exhibit 52. Sunset Mart. And oh, shoot. 1 second, guys. Pause that for 1 second, Terry. Hold the phone for me. I'll be right back. I just realized I have to grab something real quick. Be right back. Oh, wait. Lucy's in the house. There she is. Thank you for joining us, Lucy. Good to see you, dear. Terry, I'll be right back, okay?
Okay. I don't know if he wants me to read, so I'll wait. Hi, Lucy. Yeah. Tomboy. Hey, Christina. How much does jury duty pay? What do they pay? What's the going rate? I would love to know if in when Brian Koberger put out how to perform the perfect murder, if there's anything in there that says you make friends with the pet. I know. I agree. Oh my God, my county pays $15 per day. Do they pay for lunch?
All right.
And
So sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead with what you're saying.
oh, I was first I was asking what the going rate of payment is for jury duty, and Fizzy said it's like in her county it's like $15 a day. I'm like, good Lord, do they? I mean, I hope they pay for lunch. Um, and then the other one was, I would love to see what the assignment was, how to investigate the imperfect murder. Brian Koberger, you know how he wrote how to perform the perfect murder.
Yeah.
I would like to know if it's become friends with the pet.
I truly doubt it. Truly. Hey, Tina, good to see you. So, moving on with this. The Sunset Mart in Pullman Business Record Affidavit, Exhibit 53, Dylan Mortensen's phone record summary for 11/13 at 2:10:29. 2:10:29. I wonder why. That's interesting. That is where to go. Grand jury number exhibit 18, I believe. Oh, I'm sorry. 10:29 or 2:10:29 a.m. through 1:04:01 p.m. So that's interesting, the time that it starts and where it stops. But LSCO citation for Brian Koberger from August 21st to 22. The Washington Certified Department of Licensing title documents for Brian Koberger. And the Washington Certified Driver's License Report. What? Hold on. Oh, shit. One more second, Terry. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Ro, is that better? Oh, it's not? Okay. Gosh darn it. Okay, how is it now? Better? Okay, thanks in stitches.
All right. Now, Washington Certified Department of Licensing title documents for Brian Koberger. Washington Certified Driver's License Report for Brian Koberger. K-bar knife and sheath sample. Grand jury exhibit 64. So, that in itself, I'm guessing that is what the prosecution purchased, law enforcement, whoever, purchased so that they can display that as a sample of what they're insinuating was used. That's how it reads to me. The K-bar knife and sheath sample. Because they don't have a weapon, so that's the only thing that makes sense.
So that's what they bought? They purchased it.
That's my what I believe, Terry, is what they purchased. Yes.
Got it.
Oh my God, that makes me mad. The 1122 King Road diagram, 3D stacked floors, the diagram ground floor, diagram level 2, diagram level 3, and the King Road area map. I can understand the knife sample, but sheath, yes, I get it. Should be able to just show the actual sheets if you have it. You know what I mean? I agree with you on that, Fizzy. So that's the motion to reclaim exhibits. All right. Let's see here. All right, next up, we have a Z. Make sure I can blow it up for you guys. The joint proposed jury instruction regarding the tip leading to investigation of the defendant. So this is where good old Stephen Hippler decided to tell the prosecution and the defense that you guys need to get together and come up with a story to tell the jury about this tip. Basically lied to them because they agreed on how that was going to go down, which this is more bullshit, but okay. Comes now, State of Idaho and defendant Brian Koberger to submit the proposed jury instruction as proposed below. It's in its April 18th order memorializing the oral rulings in motion to in limine. The court advised the parties, meaning defense and prosecution, to meet and confer regarding a jury instruction to explain the tip that caused law enforcement to investigate the defendant. The parties have agreed on the proposed jury instruction below, which relates to the testimony of Moscow PD Corporal Brent Payne. Says Payne, or yeah, that's his name. The state intends to ask foundational questions of Corporal Payne to elicit the testimony addressed in the proposed instructions. Specifically, the state intends to ask whether law enforcement, or one, I guess you could call it, whether law enforcement received tips that it investigated between November 13th of 22 through December 19th of 22. At 2, if any of those tips had been substantiated. And 3, if law enforcement received a tip on December 19th of 22 that caused them to investigate the defendant. The defendant does not stipulate the parts 1 and 2 of the anticipated testimony and reserves the right to cross-examine Corporal Payne about that testimony, but will not address investigative genetic genealogy, the IGG. Interesting. So the proposed jury instruction was that you heard Corporal Payne testify that the investigation team received a tip on December 19th of 22 that caused them to investigate the defendant, Brian C. Koberger. This testimony was admitted for the limited purpose of explaining what caused law enforcement to investigate the defendant. You are not to consider this testimony for any purpose other than the limited purpose of when and why law enforcement first investigated the defendant, and you are not to speculate as to the source or substance of the tip, which we all know is the FBI. And the source listed as ICJ 1308, and it has been modified. The conclusion of this is that the parties respectfully ask the court to adopt their proposed jury instruction regarding December 19th to 2022 tip. God, you gotta love this stuff. This is crazy to me. Signed by Ann and Mr. Thompson. Crazy.
Jennifer, who's DB? I'm my.
Dylan and Bethany, maybe.
Oh, is it supposed to be Dylan and Bethany? Okay.
Could be, maybe. I don't know. I could be wrong. I have been wrong before. Okay, let's see here. So, the reply in support of state's motion for an examination of the defendant pursuant to the Idaho Code 18207 and for an extension of time to complete the rebuttal, penalty phase, expert disclosures. And this says, to the defendant, Brian Koberger and counsel, please take notice that the undersigned submits this reply in support of the state's motion for an examination of defendant pursuant to Code 18-207 and for an extension of time to complete a rebuttal phase, expert disclosures, the motion. Okay, hold on here. You feel like reading it all, Terry?
Yeah, if you want me to. I think that they were talking about David Barry. I'm sorry, there was like a conversation going on over here, and it was kind of interesting.
David Barry.
Yeah, does he have a white Elantra? And he gives little bottles of alcohol and takes these girls home for free.
No, that's Eric Gower. Eric Gower is the
Well, I
one.
know Eric does, but
I don't know. I don't know. Baracoa drives a foreign, what is it? A Toyota or a Nissan, I think it was. Hey, typically. Good to see you. I appreciate you very much for joining us. And he was out driving that night doing the sober brother thing, driving for the fraternity, I'm sorry, taking people home that couldn't drive and stuff like that. David Baracoa was, yes. It was in the report that we read. He's not the one that gave the alcohol bottles. It was Eric Gower. And yeah, it was all free because he's a sober driver. That's what he did.
So let's give alcohol to people.
Well, he wasn't doing that. He wasn't the one doing it. Eric Gower, the Uber, he's not Uber, but you know what I mean, the rideshare driver, that's what he's called. He's the one that was carrying around the little mini bottles and handing them out to his people that were driving. So, or that were, he was driving around, I'm sorry. Which is still odd to me. I'm sorry, but you
Okay.
don't do
So
that.
if you want me to start an introduction?
Just right from there and then underneath, yeah. Yeah, if you don't mind, I appreciate it very much.
Okay. Through its motion, the state seeks the opportunity afforded to it by Idaho Code 18-207 to rebut defendant's mental condition expert witness testimony. Defendant seeks to prevent this. He misconstrues the nature of the state's expert's proposed neuropsychology examination. He seeks to insert his counsel in the middle of the examination process, and he claims the motion is untimely because the state should have raised the penalty phase rebuttal issue even before defendant's own penalty phase disclosures were due. In essence, defendant seeks to nullify Idaho Code 18-207 in this case. The court should reject his arguments and grant the state's motion. Argument 1. The state's experts proposed personality testing is proper. The state's psychology expert proposes to include limited personality testing in his neuropsychology examination of defendant. In his declaration, the state psychologist explains why. In his professional opinion, this is important. Personality testing is a way to validate or rebut both the reliability of how defendant presents himself and his underlying diagnoses, especially autism. Defendant does not directly address the state psychologist's opinions and has not offered a declaration from his psychology experts to contradict the state's experts. Instead, defendant sidesteps the issue with two misplaced arguments. First, he claims that personality testing is not proper, rebuttal, because it is outside the scope of what his own experts explored. This is wrong. Like defendant expert, the state's expert will perform a psychological examination focused on autism and OCD. The scope of the examination will remain psychological. The state's expert will just use additional methods to complement and reply in support of state's motion for an examination of defendant pursuant to Idaho Codes 18-207 and for an extension of time to complete rebuttal penalty phase expert disclosures. Supplement those used by defendants experts. The battery of tests would serve to supplement the battery that Dr. Orr completed and provided some additional valuable information. In this way, the present dispute is about the manner of the examination, not its scope. The defendant glosses over this distinction by citing cases in which the prosecution sought to explore a new diagnosis or mental health conditions. In United States versus Jackson, August 13, 2015, the defendant had a traumatic brain injury and PTSD. Who do we know that's like that? But the government wanted to engage in broad personality testing. In United States versus Taylor, Indiana, 2004, the defendant suffered from substance abuse disorder, and it appeared that the government wanted to conduct testing that went well beyond this condition. Okay, I'm going to stop real quick and ask that question. What do they mean by that? Well beyond the substance. So they want to take it further to like
Yeah, I think it means, let me see. Let me back up to that real quick. 1 minute.
so they may be on heroin, say, but they want to take it past that.
It goes, yeah, agreed. Like, wait, let me find out where you left off, right? Exactly. Well beyond, okay, here it is. It appeared that the government wanted to conduct testing that went well beyond this condition. So they were trying to test beyond the levels of like the autism and things like that and see what else there could possibly be underlying, maybe that could have
was causing it, maybe
possibly, yeah.
Substance abuse. Okay.
Yeah, very much so.
Okay. The defendant raised his limited brain function as a mental capacity defense at the guilt phase, and the government sought to find other diagnoses that it could use to establish guilt. The courts in those cases limited the prosecution because the proposed examination sought to establish new mental conditions, allowing personality testing to the extent in contained testing scales for substance abuse disorder. But unlike in defendants cited cases, the state's experts proposed personality testing will remain focused on the same mental conditions diagnosed by defendants' experts. Thus, the court should not limit the state's experts' testing choices because they have the necessary nexus to the defense experts' findings and are reasonably tailored to the evidence. I can't go any further. Note, okay, and then footnotes. Notably, the government and Taylor and Williams sought to administer the PCL-R test, which the state's expert will not use in this case. Reply in support of state's motion for an examination of defendant pursuant to Idaho Codes 18-207 and for an extension of time to complete rebuttal penalty phase expert disclosures. Seek to refute.
You want me to take over? Are you good or what's up?
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
Just stop me when you want to talk about whatever.
No worries. No worries.
Second defendant, refusing to limit the type of examination that the state's expert may employ. Second, defendant explained or claims that personality testing would violate his Fifth Amendment rights against self-incrimination. This concern overlooks the plain language of 18-207 by putting his mental health at issue. Defendant knowingly waived any privilege he previously held to preclude the state's expert from conducting an independent evaluation. It's over where the chat is, so I'm sorry. The state's expert from conducting an independent evaluation, CIC, raising an issue of mental condition in a criminal proceeding shall constitute a waiver of any privilege that might otherwise be interposed to bar the production of evidence on the subject. The entire purpose of 18-207 is to prevent a party from taking the position defendant now takes it's in that chat again. It's hard to see. You know what I'm talking about? Now takes that he can put before the jury mental health evidence that has not been fully subject to the adversarial process. And I can't, there's something else. Okay. Defendant's concern is also overstated. Wait, go down just a little bit.
Oh, okay. Hold on. That way. There we go.
Okay. Here, defendant's concern is, okay, he argues for all incriminating responses, but the current procedural posture is important. The purpose of the requested 18-207 examination is to rebut mitigation evidence during the penalty phase, not to address guilt, and certainly not to seek admissions relevant to guilt. It is also important to note that questions in the assessments are not specific to this case, and the answers to them will be analyzed by the state's expert psychologist to inform the opinions in his written report. It is those opinions, not the underlying answers to the personality test. Well, that's not good.
No, not really.
Okay. Well, I don't care what the answers are. It's up to me to make the opinion. Whether or not,
Right.
as stated in the state's moving brief, the only anticipated caveat would be defendant is able to present evidence about his mental conditions, such as autism or OCD, during the guilt phase. That would allow the state to present expert testimony to rebut or contextualize those conditions, reply in support of state's motion for an examination of defendant pursuant to Idaho Code 18-207 and for an extension of time to complete rebuttal penalty phase expert disclosures. That the state may seek to put before the jury during the penalty phase. In other words, because the function of the personality assessments is to evaluate defendant's mental conditions, not to create testimonial evidence to be used against the defendant, personality testing is appropriate. Moreover, the defendant will have the opportunity to object to any evidence arising from the 18-207 examination, including the personality testing. So, completing the personality assessments does not violate the defendant's right against self-incrimination, provided the admissibility of any statements made by the defendant during the examination and any fruits derived therefrom is admitted only for impeachment or rebuttal of evidence of mental condition introduced by the defense at the sentencing phase of the trial. So this is all what they're gonna, when they give him his sentencing, it's they want to, in case they want to bring up anything to do with his psychological. Is that?
That's what the whole issue was, and and he didn't. They contested that wholeheartedly. I don't think that should have been left alone, other than the diagnosis of the autism, ADHD, and the ODD, or OCD. I'm sorry. Those things, that could have been fine, but besides that, they shouldn't have gone any deeper on him than that, because there's no reason for personality tests. The personality could be based off of the autism. Okay, that's a thing. They're just looking for anything they could do to try to make him look bad.
Are they trying to find out if he was on some sort of drugs?
I don't know. I don't know I think they were trying to look deeper into his psychological background to try to pull like schizophrenia.
Or if he's killed before.
Yeah. I mean, to point out, oh, sorry guys, I got a little bit of hiccups, to point out things that could make him seem more amped to be able to do this kind of thing, in my opinion.
Like a serial killer.
Yeah, right. So, and there's nothing there, you know what I mean? So, it's a damn shame, and that's why this was a big deal. They're claiming that they're claiming they brought Herwood in for this, and that's not why they brought him in. It's obvious why. We know who he worked for and what he did. So,
what I don't like is what they say, that no matter what the results of the test are, it's based upon the psychologists what they say. Yeah.
Well, I mean, of course, the defense should have their own. Should have, and that would have happened. They would have bounced off each other, obviously. It's just crazy. Once again, anything they can do to make this guy look bad, they talked about some kind of brain injury, things like that. You know what I mean? So this is crazy. It's just crazy. It has amazing validity tests, Brian. Oh, hey, Bry Guy, good to see you. MMPI is a highly respected, widely used for decades. Oh, yeah. No, I agree with you. Brian was a therapist for a while, guys, quite a while, so he knows all about that kind of stuff. Kane B, Buddy Bear, good to see you. What's up? So moving forward, I can take over, Terry, if you want me to.
Okay.
For these reasons, the court should not prevent the state's expert from conducting personality tests as part of his neuropsychological examination under 18-207. Number 2, the defendant's counsel should not be present in the examination room. Based on its expert's declaration, the state requests that only its retained expert psychologist and defendant be present in the room during this neuropsychological examination. This comports with standard psychology practice, as demonstrated by the fact that counsel was not present during the defense's expert examination of defendant. See ABA Standards on Mental Health 7-3.5C2, available at that link there. The defendant does not point to an Idaho case establishing right for defendant to have counsel present during a mental condition examination. Actually, the defendant begins his analysis with CA case that supports the state's position in Hughes versus State. The court held that Sixth Amendment right to counsel does not include the right to have counsel present during a psychosexual examination, ID at 524. That type of examination is analogs to... Oh, wait a minute, I said that wrong. Analogous to the neuropsychological examination at issue here. It is conducted by a mental health professional using scientific methods of evaluation. Additionally, the examination in Hughes was ordered for the penalty phase, which is also true of the requested examination here. Faced with this Idaho case, defendant turns to cases from other states, but they are distinguishable. Several involved examinations performed for the guilt phase, not the penalty phase. Another cited case involved a Washington statute that expressly provides that a defendant is entitled to have counsel present during a court-ordered examination. State versus Hutchinson. There is no such provision in 18-207 or other Idaho. I always want to say Ohio, Terry. It's crazy. Idaho law, which is telling. Finally, defendant relies on case law involving pre-sentence investigation interviews for the proposition that the 18-207 examination is a critical stage that requires support by counsel. But the critical stage inquiry does not only mean counsel should be in the examination room. The fact that the examination proved to be a critical stage in this case does not require us to hold that appellate's Sixth Amendment right to assistance of counsel was abridged when his counsel was not present at the examination. The former, an agent of the court, asks about the crime and addresses a defendant's culpability, remorse, and other sentencing factors. In the latter, a behavioral health professional uses scientific methods to evaluate defendant's mental condition in order to make or challenge diagnosis. The differences in the purpose and nature of the respective examinations implicate a defendant's Sixth Amendment right to counsel to different extents. This explains why the Idaho Supreme Court recognized that a defendant has the right to the assistance of counsel. During a compelled mental examination, in the end, the state is not arguing that defendant's counsel cannot advise him in connection with the state's expert neuropsychological examination. The state simply wants to preserve the reliability and validity of the examination. The court should not permit the defendant's attorney to be in the room. The court should grant the state its requested extension, and the state seeks an extension of time to make its rebuttal penalty phase expert so that its expert can conduct the 18-207 exam and prepare his report. Specifically, the state requests a deadline of 21 days after the examination is completed. The defendant objects on two grounds, both of which the court should overrule. First, the defendant argues that the state has not known or shown good cause for the extension because defendant disclosed mental condition expert reports in January, which he believes should have prompted the state make its motion. But 18-2074C does not contain a deadline to seek an examination, and the defendant ignores how scheduling order in this case was set up. Defendant's penalty phase expert disclosures were due on March 31st of 25, and the state's rebuttal disclosures were due April 28th of 25. The state was entitled to wait until defendant made his disclosures to determine which experts it needed for rebuttal and whether 18207 examination would be necessary. Indeed, defendant psychologist and forensic psychiatrist disclosed amended reports on the 31st of March. And defendant disclosed 3 other mental condition expert reports that day. The state has acted diligently prior to defendant's disclosure deadline, and the state had retained a psychologist and it requested a 18207 examination 2 days after defendant's disclosure. And with weeks to go before its rebuttal deadline, and that means the defendant criticizes the state for not elaborating on why its initial expert withdrew. The state does not believe it is necessary for proper to relay that individual's reasons, given that they are no longer involved in the case. That was a footnote. I'm sorry. Excuse me again. Where the hell was I now?
Hey, Dago.
Yes, ma'am.
I saw something. Hold on. Yeah, Wadebird. I did hear that too. Wasn't there a rumor that the G family knew one of the assessors?
I did hear that. Yeah, I did hear about that.
Yeah, that's what I heard. That they knew one of the psychologist or they were like family or something.
And that there was supposedly that's the rumor is that's why that person dropped out, because of conflict of interest, because they did know the family of one of the victims. So
right.
I don't know if it's true. We don't know. There's no proof anywhere showing it, but that's what the theory was based on a rumor. So
okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. That's a good question. That's what this is about. Ask your questions, guys, please. That's what this is all about as we break these down so that we understand them. Perhaps the state should have anticipated that the instant disputes would arise and delay the examination, but in no way waived its right under 18207. Good cause exists for the requested extension given the volume and nature of defendant's disclosures and the need to ask the court to resolve the parties' disputes. Second, defendant argues that if the court grants the state an extension, he will not have enough time to review and address the state's disclosures. Yet, he acknowledges that if the state's motion is granted, that he will receive the disclosures approximately 70 days before jury selection. This is ample time to review and address expert disclosures that most likely will not be raised until the rebuttal portion of the penalty phase in the case. This situation is a far cry from the situation in defendant's cited case of Alika versus Fortando, in which the state made a potential Brady disclosure relevant to guilt 3 business days before trial. Defendant is not faced with an eve of trial, or faced with disclosure here at 101, especially because he already had multiple mental health experts lined up to help him address the state's expert disclosure. Defendant will not be prejudiced by the requested extension. The conclusion being that for the foregoing reasons, the court should grant the state's motion in its entirety. And it's signed by Hurwitz and Thompson. And there it is. Thank you for helping me read, Terry. This a lot of reading drives me nuts.
No, that's fine. Do you want me to read for a little bit?
Absolutely. Appreciate it. So this motion to seal, reply, and motion for examine. Did I just read this? Hold on. No, that was the motion for what we just talked about. And that's like 4 words. That's all it is the motion, basically. So this one's a little different here. Hold on. Motion to seal reply in support of the state's motion for examination of defendants pursuant to the Code 18207 and for an extension of time to complete rebuttal. Penalty phase expert disclosure. See, it's killing me because the state wanted an extension on this to be able to do what they wanted to do. But when the defense asked for an extension or continuance, I'll be damned if they would allow for that to happen. You know what I mean? It's a joke to me. It's a joke.
Right.
So again, Comes now the state of Idaho by and through Latah County prosecuting attorney, and hereby moves the court pursuant to Idaho Court Administrative Rule 32G1 and Code 74124 for an order sealing the state's reply in support of the state's motion for the exam of defendant pursuant to Code 18207 and for an extension of time to complete the rebuttal penalty phase expert disclosures filed herein for the following reasons. That's still not big enough, I don't think, for you guys to be able to see. There we go. The filing reveals personal private information of the defendant, Code 74124B, and affects his privacy interests. Again, Rule 32G1. Specifically, the filing review reveals mental health information about the defendant, including psychological, psychiatric, and neurological information and diagnosis of defendant. The filing also reveals the nature of mental condition examinations already conducted and the type of examinations and testing the state seeks to perform, some of which is personality testing to which the defendant objects. And again, they've already done all this. They don't need a personality test on this. The personality is based off of it could be based off the autism, in my opinion. I'm just saying. Leave it alone already. You guys have run him into the ground enough. So this is the objection, the defendant's objection to the state's motion for exam of him pursuant to Code 18207. Jesus. That's a lot, guys. Hold on a minute.
Want me to
Here.
read this?
Yeah, because that's... Hold on.
Okay.
Make it big enough for you to see. Let me go back to the top up here. So, again, this is the objection to the state's motion for examination of the defendant pursuant to Idaho Code 18207 and for that extension of time to complete the rebuttal penalty phase. I'll read this person here and then I'll let you go from there down the bottom there. Okay. Comes now Brian Koberger by and through his attorney of record and hereby opposes the state's motion for an extension of time to disclose rebuttal expert witnesses and to expand the scope of the prosecution's evaluation beyond the testing conducted by Koberger's experts. And there you go. Can you see it okay, or do you need it bigger?
Yeah, I can see it. The state's requested extension must be denied because it is highly prejudicial to Mr. Koberger and it is not supported by good cause. So this is what the defense, what Ann came back with, right?
Yes.
Okay. The state has had comprehensive psychological reports from Dr. Ryan and Dr. Orr since January 23rd, 2025. They were both disclosed at the guilt phase expert deadline. Only now, days before the state's rebuttal deadline, does the state identify a new expert and request an additional 21 days from some future as yet to determine date to produce a report. Jury selection in this case begins in fewer than 100 days. If the court grants the state's motion, the defense likely will not receive the expert report until at most 70 days before trial, as detailed in previous defense motions at oral argument. Every new disclosure by the state initiates a new cycle of fact investigation and expert analysis of the defense. The defense already has grave concerns about its ability to review and respond to existing discovery. It will simply be impossible for counsel to incorporate a new expert opinion just weeks before the trial for Mr. Koberger's life begins. At this late stage, any leniency afforded to the state with regard to discovery deadlines will cause a cascading effect of prejudice to Mr. Koberger. Discussing late disclosure in the Brady context. The Second Circuit aptly articulated how last-minute discovery prejudices the defense. When such a disclosure is first made on the eve of a trial or when trial is underway, the opportunity to use it may be impaired. The defense may be unable to divert resources from other initiatives and obligations that are or may seem more pressing, and the defense may be unable to assimilate the information into its case. Moreover, new witnesses, or developments tend to throw existing strategies and preparation into disarray. You have to move it up for me. Where are we? Okay, do I say Brewer? Okay.
You good?
The prejudice to Mr. Koberger is heightened because the prosecution's anticipated expert report is not merely rebuttal. The state seeks to perform new testing of Mr. Koberger outside the scope of what the defense's experts conducted. Yikes. Defense counsel cannot allow any potentially harmful or aggravating evidence to go rebutted. Anders versus Texas. Defense counsel ineffective for failing to investigate and rebut prosecution's aggravating evidence. Rompilla versus Beard. Same. In fact, if this court will be or allows the state to prefer new diagnosis or mental condition theories during rebuttal, Mr. Koberger will be entitled to surrebuttal on those issues. United States versus Barnett. Trial court committed reversible error by prohibiting defendant from presenting surrebuttal at penalty phase of capital trial where evidence of allegedly psychopathy was introduced for the first time during prosecution's rebuttal. The defense will thus need to review, analyze, and potentially retain its own additional experts to decipher and assess the results of any new testing. This cannot be done in the short window before trial, particularly given the unprecedented volume of discovery that counsel is still attempting to wade through. Even the time it takes for Mr. Koberger's defense team to file this objection and litigate this issue is time they cannot spend reviewing the 68 terabytes of discovery, following up on their own investigative leads, and developing its mitigation presentation. As the Supreme Court has repeatedly held, and as Mr. Koberger has reiterated in his pleadings and at oral argument, death is different. Ford versus Wainwright. See also Woodson versus North Carolina, Gardner versus Florida, blah, blah, blah. Objection. So basically, like Mr. Koberger, like all capital defendants, is entitled to heightened due process protections to ensure that this ultimate end. You want me to read the objection to state's motion? I mean, or can you go up some so I can? Okay. Irreversible sanction is not imposed arbitrarily or unjustly. Caspary versus Bolden. Okay. Time and again, Supreme Court has condemned procedures in capital cases that might be completely acceptable in an ordinary case. This court has gone to extraordinary measures to ensure that the prisoner's sentence to be executed is afforded process that will guarantee, as much as is humanely possible, that the sentence was not imposed out of whim, passion, prejudice, or mistake. The state's psychological evaluation of Mr. Koberger is not a tangential issue, unlikely to have any bearing on the outcome of this case. Under these circumstances, I can't go anymore. They can move it up. Who? Defense is citing to federal legal authority, not Idaho legal authority. I think it's federal due process issue per 14th Amendment.
Real quick, Kathy, by the way, welcome, Kathy. Good to see you today. Says, notice how the defense is citing to federal legal authority and not Idaho legal authority. I think it's because of federal due process issue per the 14th Amendment. Very good call and very good point, Kathy. Thank you. And thanks again for being here.
Oh, okay.
So my mouse got stuck. That's why I couldn't. Where are you at? Like,
I'm right there. Okay, so this court Wait, I already did that one.
You want me to keep going up?
Wait, no, I'm okay. I think here, state psychological evaluations is not tangible issue, unlikely to have any bearing on the outcome of this case. Under these circumstances, permitting the state to disclose new expert evidence on this issue so close to the start of trial violates Mr. Coverter's right to due process and creates the unacceptable risk of an unreliable and unjust death sentence. Moreover, the state's motion does not provide good cause for an extension. The Idaho Supreme Court recently addressed the requirement that a party show good cause for any request to amend a scheduling order. Fashioning scheduling orders early in litigation, especially when these orders are based on a stipulation of counsel, as was done here, makes it necessary for counsel to establish good cause to change those orders with more than counsel's assurances that good cause exists. Given Burgoyne caseloads and crowded dockets, proof in the forms of facts is not only appropriate, but to be expected. Dodd versus Jones. The state has not provided the necessary proof of good cause to warrant an extension of such a significant deadline so close to the trial date. The state does not provide any explanation as to why it did not confer with an expert well in advance, interesting, of its known deadline or confer. We think we know the answer to that, right?
Yeah. Yep. And Kathy again says, remember how many times that the defense cited to the 14th Amendment when filing documents? She's right. Due process required when life, liberty, and property is at issue, heightened death penalty because of the death penalty. Good points. Thank you, Kathy. Okay. And then.
Okay. So defense counsel about the nature and scheduling of an examination until only 22 days ahead of the court's deadline for its own expert's report. The state does not provide any detail about why the prosecution's original expert could no longer perform the evaluation and why they only learned of this development 14 days before the court's deadline. Nor does the prosecution explain why, despite receiving defense reports on January 23rd, 2025, and thus being on notice of the precise mental condition issues that would be raised by the defense. The state did not file its motion for an evaluation until the end of April, only one business day before the deadline to disclose its expert report. The state is deliberately vague about how early they retained their original mental health expert, but at the latest, the state was considering an evaluation as early as mid-March. In a filing dated March 17, 2025, the prosecution wrote the state may move to have defendant examined by its own expert. State's response to defendant's motion in limine number 4 at 2. Having received the reports in January, retaining a mental health expert and formally disclosing to counsel and this court in mid-March that it may move to examine the defendant, it is disingenuous for the state to now frame their request for extension as necessary because defense counsel does not stipulate to irrelevant and personality testing. The prosecution did not broach the topic of an evaluation with defense counsel until April 2nd, 2025. Approximately 3 hours later, defense counsel requested information as to who the experts would be and what testing was proposed in order to determine whether the defense would consent or object. The state then provided information that it would pursue personality testing and did not yet know its position as to whether defense counsel could present. Less than 4 hours later, defense counsel responded that it would object to the irrelevant testing because it is outside the scope of rebuttal and reiterated that counsel wished to be present. Thus, counsel responded to the state with extreme haste as to not delay their evaluation. That the state then waited for weeks to file a motion and litigate the contested issues does not constitute good cause for delay. Whether to extend deadlines is a matter within the court's discretion. It is time for this court to exercise its discretion and shut off the fire hose of new discovery from the state, particularly where, as here, the prosecution has failed to provide good cause for its requested extension. The state's motion for an extension of time must be denied. The personality testing proposed by the state's expert falls outside the scope of proper rebuttal evidence and violates Mr. Koberger's Fifth Amendment rights. The state's proposed personality testing is not proper rebuttal, but because it is not reasonably tailored to the mental condition evidence preferred by the defense. Rebuttal evidence is evidence which explains, repels, counteracts, or disproves evidence which has been introduced by or on behalf of the adverse party. There must be a nexus between the purported rebuttal evidence and the evidence that the purported rebuttal evidence seeks to rebut. Rebuttal evidence is not any evidence an aggrieved litigant may wish to admit in response to a topic introduced by his opponent. Whether or not rebuttal evidence is admissible depends on whether the initial proof might affect the case and whether the rebuttal evidence fairly meets the initial proof. Internal citations omitted. In short, rebuttal testimony must be reasonably tailored to the evidence it seeks to refute. The principle applies with equal force to proposed rebuttal testimony by experts. See Withrow versus Spears. Expert reports that simply address the same general subject matter as a previously submitted report, but does not directly contradict or refute the actual contents of that prior report do not qualify as proper rebuttal or reply reports. International Business Machines Corporation versus Fasco. Supplemental or rebuttal experts cannot put forth their own theories. They must restrict their testimony to attacking the theories offered by the adversary's experts. The proposed personality testing by Dr. Gage is not proper rebuttal evidence because it is not reasonably tailored to refute the evaluations conducted by the defense's experts. The defense's preferred evidence concerns Mr. Koberger's diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder.
Sorry, hold on. Where did you go? Right about... Oh, right there. Do you want me to pick it up or you still want to go?
Oh, you can go.
Okay.
Get my mouth.
No, I get it. It's a lot. That's why I'm grateful that you're helping today because yesterday burnt me out.
I bet.
His history of disordered eating and his history of substance abuse, the defense experts did not perform personality testing, diagnose Mr. Koberger with a personality disorder, or provide an indication that such testing would be relevant to their opinions. In its April 18th to 25 order memorializing oral rulings and motions in limine, this court noted the lack of evidence defendant has been diagnosed with personality disorder or similar mental illness. Simply put, there is nothing in the defense's proffered expert testimony on the subject of personality disorders for the state to rebut. B, permitting the state to conduct personality testing that falls outside the scope of the testing conducted by the defense's mental health experts would violate Mr. Koberger's Fifth Amendment rights again. So the state's proposed testing also violates Mr. Koberger's Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Any waiver effectuated by a defendant's decision to raise his mental condition is limited to the specific issues raised by the defense. Fifth Amendment waiver when defendant asserts mental health defense is not limitless. It only allows the prosecution to use the interview to provide rebuttal to the psychiatric defense. Examination of defendant by prosecution's expert did not violate Fifth Amendment, where examination was limited and any opinions and evidence gained from the evaluations could be used only to rebut Hess' battered woman syndrome defense.
What?
The rebuttal could only be used to rebut that specific
Oh,
defense.
okay.
Use is what it means. Defendant's mental condition mitigation evidence would exceed the scope of defendant's limited waiver of her Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Is basically what it was stating. Testing is reasonably related to mental condition raised by the defense. Otherwise, there is a danger that defendants will be improperly subjected to mental examinations beyond the scope of the precise issue they have been tendered and their resulting waiver of constitutional rights. Even the case cited by the state in its motion stand for this proposition. A trial court should limit a compelled psychiatric examination to rebuttal issues. The scope of the Fifth Amendment waiver is limited to the issue raised by the defense, and any testimony about the court-ordered psychiatric evaluation cannot go beyond this limited rebuttal purpose. Furthermore, So footnote on that one says the state cites Hernandez for the proposition that the prosecution's evaluation may go beyond the scope of the defense's evaluation. This is a mischaracterization of Hernandez, which was decided on its facts. The court did not hold that the state's evaluation was permitted to exceed the defense. Rather, the court found as a factual matter that the prosecution's evaluation did not go beyond the scope of that which was conducted by the defense's expert. I have a damn fly in here. It's driving me nuts. I hate flies. Where the hell was I? Hold on. Let me find the footnote number again. Where are we at, guys? Where are we at? Is it down here? There it is. The subject is not asked to perform a timed task to assess the subject's cognitive skills and deficits. Rather, the test is uniquely testimonial, and the test subject provides true or false responses to written questions. Similar to the following. Sometimes I get so angry and upset, I don't know what comes over me. Sometimes when I was young, I stole things. At times I have a strong urge to do something harmful or shocking. I have a peculiar and disturbing I have had peculiar and disturbing experiences that most other people have not had. I would like to do the work of a choir director. If I could get into the movies without paying and be sure I was not seen, I would probably do it. I worry quite a bit over possible misfortunes. Again, footnote.
Oh my God, we all think that, don't we?
A lot of people do, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, we worry about possible misfortunes. I mean, I think every single one of us has that worry.
Sure, every day, every single day. Agreed. Footnote number 4 on that one was, while the test materials themselves can only be purchased by mental health professionals, some older versions of the test have been made available online through that link and all that. So anyway, back to where I was. If I can find it again. Where the hell is it? We were going through all these weird. Thus, the questions are clearly testimonial in nature, asking about a wide range of things such as anger, expression, aggressive tendencies, rule-breaking behavior as a child and adult, temper control, and so on. These squarely implicate the Fifth Amendment and go far beyond the scope of rebuttal, holding that the Fifth Amendment is implicated whenever questioning is reasonably likely to evoke an incriminating response. Explaining that the Fifth Amendment privilege does not only extend to answers that would in themselves support a conviction, but to any situation in which the implication of the question, in the setting which it is asked, that a responsive answer might be dangerous. In fact, the PAI asked questions, paraphrased here, but conceptually accurately so, that are especially offensive to the Fifth Amendment, such as, I have done things that are not exactly legal. I am a very violent person at times. An agent of the state simply should not be allowed to propose such questions, nor a court require a defendant on trial for their life to answer such questions when posed by the state or any of its agents. That's a good point. Courts routinely exclude personality testing from rebuttal evaluations when such testing was not conducted by the defense experts. Welcome, Tinsel. Good to see you. Fiddlesticks. There's Lucy. How's Fiddlesticks doing today, Lucy? Recognizing the limited scope of proper rebuttal testimony and the need to safeguard the defendant's Fifth Amendment rights, courts have prohibited personality testing or excluded personality testimony pertaining to such testing in cases where the defendant, as here, raised the issue of his mental condition, but did not proffer any evidence pertaining to personality disorders. Prohibiting prosecution's expert from administering personality test as rebuttal where defense proffered evidence from mental health expert regarding traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress disorder. The defendant gave notice of his intention to introduce expert testimony regarding his developmental history and mental condition relating to substance abuse during the penalty phase of his capital trial. The government sought to conduct an array of personality tests and a rebuttal examination, including the MMPI, the PAI, and the Milan Clinical Multi-Axial Inventory, and the interview schedule for the psychopathy checklist. Revised ID at 794. The district court concluded that the prosecution must be limited to a parallel testing of substance rather than allowing the government to use the defendant's limited notice as an open door for any type of mental testing, and barred the prosecution from introducing any materials beyond the scope of mental health testing related to substance abuse. Footnote, the court prohibited the use of the psychopathy, I know I'm not saying that right, but whatever, psychopathy checklist altogether due to uncertainty about the test's validity and reliability for capital proceedings. So a different federal court reached the same conclusion in the United States versus Williams. The defendant provided notice of this intention to rely on evidence of the borderline intellectual functioning, BIF, and brain damage during the merits and penalty phases of his capital trial. The government sought to present rebuttal testimony from its expert, asserting that the defendant's behavior was better explained by psychosis and antisocial personality disorder in discussing the result of personality testing conducted by the prosecution's expert. The district court held that testimony by the government's expert must be limited in scope to that which directly rebuts defendant's assertion of BIF, and which is based upon expert examinations that parallel the exploration of the examinations conducted by defense. Further, the court barred the prosecution's expert from testifying about the personality testing, holding that any diagnosis which requires a broader examination of the defendant or which is used to assert a theory of prosecution, not just to rebut the defendant's mental health defense, in it is admissible. In sum, when a defendant raises specific mental conditions or diagnoses, the prosecution's rebuttal is confined to refuting those particular issues raised by the defense. The state's vague proffer, which does not even specify the tests Dr. Gage proposed to conduct, does not elucidate how personality testing will have any bearing on the opinions of the prosecution's experts. Furthermore, the proposed testing falls outside the scope of Mr. Koberger's narrow Fifth Amendment waiver, and the proposed personality testing must therefore be prohibited. Jesus. And then again, the Sixth Amendment requires that counsel be permitted to attend the prosecution's evaluation of Mr. Koberger, and the state's reliance on that case law there to argue that Mr. Koberger is not entitled to the presence of counsel during the prosecution's evaluation overlooks Idaho case law that more fully examines the issue. There's so much more. Hey, Sarah, good to see you. And Tinsel, welcome again if you didn't hear me. Nothing half-assed, good to see you as well. The language quoted by the state from Payne relied on dicta. However, a defendant has the right to the assistance of counsel, as opposed to the presence of counsel during a compelled mental examination. But I'm gonna on whether hold on a minute here. Estrada versus State 143-558-563-149 P.3D 833-838 2006. In Estrada, the court explicitly declined to rule on whether the Sixth Amendment mandated the presence of counsel during a psychosexual examination because Estrada does not argue his attorney should have been present during the evaluation. This ruling is limited to the finding that a defendant has a Sixth Amendment right to counsel regarding only the decision of whether to submit a psychosexual exam. Again, referring back to Estrada 143 at Idaho. In Idaho, appellate court has actually analyzed the issue set forth from the test for determining whether counsel's physical presence is warranted. The Idaho Court of Appeals held that the Sixth Amendment right to counsel's advice regarding a psychosexual examination does not include the right for counsel to be physically present during the examination. In so holding, the Court of Appeals relied heavily on the D.C. Circuit's reasoning. In case law, the Byers Court articulated that the Hughes Court adopted what is unquestionably the governing test for whether the Sixth Amendment requires the presence of counsel. The accused must find himself confronted just as at trial by the procedural system or by his expert adversary or both. Here, the psychological evaluation sought by the state is not a neutral examination by a court-appointed expert. It is explicitly stated in the statute authorizing the procedure and adversarial process. The examination will expose Mr. Koberger to lengthy and intensive questioning by an expert who is an agent of the prosecution. Hold on a minute. I have to get more to drink. My mouth is drying out fast. 1 second. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kathy, I think that's right. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, I agree with that, Twiz. All right, so where was I? Intensive questioning by an expert who is an agent in prosecution and thus undeniably his expert adversary. Counsel's presence is therefore required at the evaluation. This is consistent with rulings from courts across the country. Holding that court-ordered pretrial mental examinations are a critical stage of the proceedings at which the defendant is entitled to the presence of counsel. It is also consistent with the American Bar Association guidelines for the appointment and performance of defense counsel in death penalty cases, which mandate that defense counsel should attend any interview conducted by the prosecution's witness. Furthermore, this court must consider Mr. Koberger's Sixth Amendment right to counsel within the context of the prosecution's efforts to seek his death. The Ninth Circuit held that a pre-sentence interview in a non-capital case is not a critical stage requiring the presence of counsel. Citing the United States Supreme Court's ruling in case law, emphasized the fundamental distinctions between capital and non-capital proceedings. We understand the Sixth Amendment portion of Estelle, therefore, to be consistent with the general principle that the right to counsel attaches upon the commencement of adversary proceedings and applies to any critical stage of those proceedings. 1 minute, you guys. So, hold on a minute. My son was talking to me. I'm sorry. And applies to any critical stage of those proceedings where counsel's absence or lack of advice might derogate from the accused's right to a fair trial, clearly denying the defendant in Estelle the assistance of counsel with respect to his response to questions that would be used in order to prove beyond a reasonable doubt the critical aggravating factor of dangerousness impaired the fairness of the jury trial itself. In those bifurcated proceedings, it is the jury. 1 second. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? I that word. Love these words, guys. Bifurcated. There we go. Proceedings. It is the jury which must decide whether the state has proved its case in the sentencing phase of the trial. If it decides the state has, the judge must impose the death sentence. Excuse me. Thus, the court was justified in concluding that the defendant's interview proved to be a critical stage of the aggregate proceedings against him. The Ninth Circuit reiterated that death is different. For Sixth Amendment purposes, 2 decades later in case law, the Ninth Circuit held that a pre-sentence interview in a capital case is a critical stage at which the defendant is entitled to the presence of counsel. Again, the circuit court relied on Estelle to distinguish its prior holding regarding non-capital proceedings in Bauman. We find that a pre-sentence interview in a capital case is a critical stage for the purpose of the Sixth Amendment's right to counsel. This conclusion is compelled by the principle from Estelle that defendants should not face pre-sentencing stages in capital cases without the benefit of counsel. In the Bauman distinction between capital and non-capital cases, the pre-sentence interview is a mandatory part of Idaho's capital sentencing scheme. Informs the basis of the pre-sentence report considered by the court during sentencing. Given the gravity of the decision to be made at the penalty phase, the state is not relieved of the obligation to observe fundamental constitutional guarantees. The stakes for the defendant and for society are too high to allow the defendant to face this important component of the sentencing process without the guiding hand of counsel. The reasoning in Hoffman compels the result in this case, just like the pre-sentence interviews in Hoffman. The psychological evaluation under 18207 is mandatory and will be considered by the sentencer tasked with deciding whether Mr. Koberger will live or die. Certainly, if the defendant in Hoffman retained a Sixth Amendment right to the presence of counsel after having been convicted of capital murder, and in the context of neutral court-appointed presence examiner, Mr. Koberger, who is presumed innocent and facing an expert retained by the state, is entitled to at least the same protection in what is literally a life or death matter. All right. Do you want to read the conclusion, Miss Terry? Or are you done for the day on the reading?
Oh, you know what? I actually just wrote in there, I've got to jump down. I've got to hit the pharmacy before it closes.
Okay. No problem. Thank you for everything. I appreciate you.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
I know. Bye. Be careful out there. In conclusion, counsel respectfully requests that this court deny the motion for extension of time because the state has provided no good cause to extend the deadline for rebuttal of defendant's mitigation. Allowing ultimate untimely discovery of this nature would substantially prejudice Mr. Koberger's right to a fair trial and sentencing determination pursuant to the 6th, 8th, and 14th Amendments and his concomitant state constitutional rights. If the court does permit an extension of time over Mr. Koberger's objection, he respectfully requests that this court enter an order, 1, prohibiting any personality testing, which is both outside the scope of rebuttal and uniquely testimonial in nature. 2, permitting defense counsel's presence at the evaluation. And 3, requiring the state to disclose a list of the exact tests its expert intends to administer, and permitting the defense counsel to object in writing to any improper testing after consultation with defense mental health experts. Boy, that was a lot. Again, stand by Miss Taylor. Thank you, Ann. Yoy. Some of these documents are a lot, but I want you guys to hear every word in them so you understand them, at least have the option to understand to some aspect. Let's see here where we at. 341, not bad. This was the declaration of Dr. Gage, Jason Gage. Let's see, what else do we have? Okay, state's witness list, state's exhibits. So I'm gonna bounce over the Dr. Gage thing and jump onto this one real quick for today, at least, because I have to get out of here soon. I'll probably come back to these all, actually, to be honest with you. So this is the state's witness list, okay? And boy, is it large. Look at all these people, you guys. It's a lot. I still don't understand how this man's name is on here. And he wasn't even there, supposedly. It's quite interesting. I'll just say that much. And you know, let me see something here. State's exhibit list. Okay. I think we've already went over the witness list once. So this is the exhibit list, the state's exhibit list. I think we covered this one. Oh, okay. So we have the front exterior of residence, rear, the main floor toward the west bedroom, which Xana Kernodle, and then the main floor west bedroom, Ethan Chapin, and the third floor east bedroom, Kaylee Gonsalves and Madison Mogan. Then we also have the third floor east bedroom, Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison. Okay, yeah, you know what, you guys, this is not gonna. I'm not gonna have time to break this down like I want to. So I think that's gonna have to. I'm gonna have to call it for today on that one, because I will come back tomorrow on the state's witness list, exhibits list, the state's response to defendant's jury's instructions, the notice of filing the defendant's proposed jury instructions under seal, and the rest of these, because we did run those 2 videos first, and I'm about at 4 hours, and I don't want to go past that. I got to do some things with the fam, and then I'm going to try to be back here tonight to run the, oh, Lord, weird, creepy, and unexplained paranormal Saturday night thing. We haven't done it yet, and it's October. I should be all over that. So we're going to come back to this tomorrow, finish all of this up, which we should be able to finish it up by tomorrow. Break it down again. Maybe Eddie will be able to join us tomorrow. I'm grateful for Hemisphere and Terry joining me today very much. It's good to see everybody in chat as always. Twiz, thank you for being here as well. We don't get to see you too often. Brian and Bri guys in the house. And if anybody's interested in taking a little break from this stuff and decompressing tonight, I'm really trying hard, guys, to be in here so that we can do some weird, creepy, unexplained stuff and enjoy a little bit of October. I'm doing a show about Twiz. Yes. Just kidding. Just kidding. You're funny, Meg. You're funny. So if you're into that stuff, guys, and you want to take a little break from this, join us tonight. I don't know exactly what time yet, but it won't be super late. I promise you that much. And jump in here with us and hang out, and let's look into some weird, creepy, unexplained stuff and enjoy a little bit of the month of October and decompress from this stuff a little bit if you're interested. I'm looking forward to seeing you. Yes, Nightmare on Dago Street. Thank you, Miss Bonda. Appreciate seeing you here. Thank you to my mods as always. Thank you to anybody that may have chose to support the channel via Venmo or Cash App or any of that stuff. God bless. And hold on here. Let me get rid of some of this stuff so I can see what's going on in the background here, because I have so many tabs pulled up right now. It's not even funny. 1 minute. Where it is, where it be. There we go. We got 137 likes. You guys put us in that algorithm. God bless. I appreciate that very much. Thank you to everyone that joined us today. You guys are amazing. Guys, don't forget to love yourselves and love each other. Don't change a thing. You guys are the beautiful people, and I will see you very soon, folks. Again, don't forget, look for me this evening if you're interested in taking a little break and doing something different. And for those of you that'll be here, I'll see you then. For not, I will see you tomorrow. Much love, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
Flicker like broken halos. Whispers gather in the smoke-filled air. Tables carved with secrets and shadows. Every story's a wound laid bare. The kettle's boiling with restless rage. Justice written on an unseen page. I sip the silence, bitter taste, waiting for the ghosts to show their face at the True Crime Cafe. We serve up the pain they try to hide away. Pour another cup of the truth you crave. Raise your glass to the names they betray. Cracked reflections are liars. Ashes fall where the guilty once stood. The jukebox hums like a funeral choir. Echoes pounding through the neighborhood. Every scar is a candlelit vow. We hunt the how, we demand the now. No more silence, no more disguise. We'll paint the night with sharpened cry. At the True Crime Cafe, we serve up the pain they try to hide away. Pour another cup of the truth you crave. Raise your glass to the names they betray. It's a battlefield hymn, a requiem dripping from the bottle's rim. The guilty write stories in invisible